What's up, everybody? This is Elliott, and you're listening to Magical Thinking, brought to you by artofmagic.com. Thanks so much for listening to the show. I know I say that every time, but I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys, and it's awesome. So if you want to shoot me a message, email me at podcast@artofmagic.com. This one's a special one, and kind of a crazy one, and a super fun one, and it's full of twists and turns and false endings, and there's discovery, a lot of discovery. If you don't know what that means, maybe you'll understand a little bit more once you listen to the episode. Adam Rubin is our guest, and he is one of the most incredible, brilliant people I have had the pleasure of meeting. He's amazing. He's super into puzzles. He was a copywriter. He's a children's book author. He's a magician, of course. Super interesting. We talk about, growing up in magic and understanding how lay people's perception of you changes once they learn you're a magician. That's kind of what you are to them. We talk about the difference between theatrical performance and performing sort of impromptu. We talk about the importance of improvisation. Adam is an accomplished improviser. He studied under Mick Napier in Chicago, and we would both highly recommend Mick Napier's books on improvisation. You can find them on Amazon.com. Super interesting stuff. Our special guest and co-host of this episode is Asi Wind. I talked to Adam Rubin at Magi Fest in Columbus, Ohio, and Asi was there performing, and he let us use his room and took it upon himself to commandeer the podcast, which I was all about. It was awesome. He's super funny and very interesting as well. And we have some other special guests if you listen long enough. I want to make a disclaimer. We promise listeners prizes for making it through the podcast. None of those have happened. There is no website. The website that we mentioned, that is not a thing. There are no free t-shirts or anything like that. But if you do get to the point at which they start talking about screenshotting your phone and posting it, please do that. That would be a lot of fun. I also want to apologize. I know Hermione is Emma Watson. I couldn't remember her last name. Neither could Adam. We both felt like utter fools because we couldn't remember Emma Watson. She's one of my all-time favorite people, and I couldn't remember her dang name. We figured it out, though. I'm preemptively apologizing for that brain fart that happened. But this is a great episode. It's super fun. I think about it in my mind with the title, The Never Ending Episode, and you'll understand what I mean. I just want to say, even though your phone says it's, 5 hours or something, it's not actually that long. That's part of the discovery. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Of course, you can follow us on social media. Find us on Facebook and Twitter with @ASenseOfMystery. Find us on Instagram @ASenseOfMystery and @TreasuryOfWonder. You can also go like the new Facebook page. There's a Facebook page that is available to you so that you can get updates on when episodes come out. Obviously every Thursday, but Anyway, this is a great episode. Get into it. Super fun. I'll see you later.
What was the other tip that Paul Wilson gave you?
Oh, he was saying that he noticed that when he and I talked for nearly 3 hours, and he said,
"Who the fuck listened to that?"
Nobody's listened to it yet. That we haven't launched the site or the podcast.
That's so crazy.
But it's one of those things like,
who has that kind of
put
patience?
it in your car, put it in.
I guess I don't drive, but I don't. My girlfriend likes to listen to podcasts, and when she listens, I'm just like, I'm paralyzed. I'm like a deer in headlights. I can't think about anything else except for the voices. It's tough. I have a problem.
That's okay. There's so much interesting about you to talk about.
Did we start?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, okay. I shouldn't curse, right?
No, you can curse. That's
Okay.
fine. Say whatever the fuck you want.
All right.
It's all good.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So, I don't know. I'm interested in your magic origin story. I'm interested in advertising. I'm interested in your children's books. I'm interested in the whole everything. Puzzles, illusions, magic, all that.
Okay.
So, we can start wherever you want to start. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. You're good on levels and everything where I'm sitting? This is good?
Yeah.
All right. Let me spin a tale.
Let's just stretch. It's fine.
Let me stretch out.
There's no pressure. Super chill.
Where to start? I guess magic came first.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to write. So maybe that did come first, but not in any really super meaningful way. I always liked to write. I was good in English. But I would say my first passion in life, the first thing that really bit me, was magic. And it quickly spiraled into other sorts of things. Like, I liked to make videos and do special effects in the videos, but in some ways that was similar to magic. And really early on, when I got interested in magic, that way of thinking applied itself to other avenues also. So
what kind of creativity was that? I mean, like, can you give examples about?
So I actually got into magic in a roundabout way.
Okay.
Similar to most stories, I was given a book that kind of sparked my interest, but I wasn't that excited by it. It was the Mark Wilson Encyclopedia of Magic. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it looks like a little cube. It's almost cube-shaped, a little tiny version. It's got like 700 pages, but it's only like 5 inches tall.
Yeah.
It's a great book, and it has everything you need, really, especially for a beginner. But I was at summer camp, I got it in a package, and it seemed neat, and but there was candy in the package. I was much more interested in the candy. My friend learned a trick out of the book and fooled me with it, and that sort of piqued my interest. You walking through, Asi?
But by all means, text me. Okay. Are you?
Yeah.
Not just now.
Can I interfere in the conversation?
Yeah.
But don't never introduce me.
Don't introduce yourself.
No, never say Asi is here or something.
You're gonna have to listen to me blather for
And
a
if
long time.
if somebody knows, like,
Yeah.
someone recognizes my voice, cool. But if not, don't tell him that it's me.
All right. Like everybody, I got a book.
Okay, got a book.
And my friend learned a trick out of the book, fooled me with it. And that sort of piqued my interest more than I had originally thought. But it didn't really bite me. The bug didn't bite until later on. I think it was 6th grade. 6th grade, we had a Renaissance fair at school, and everybody had to do. I haven't thought about this story in a long time. I always just do the cop-out. How do you get a magic? Well, I get a book. I don't know.
No, I want.
But this is the truth. Is we had a Renaissance festival at school, and I feel like there was like 3 options when you did the Renaissance festival. You could either sell like the baked goods, or you could do the maypole, which is this weird ribbon thing you run around in a circle.
Yeah.
Or you could do the joust. Like, all the boys wanted to do the joust. It was a fake joust, and that was you had to choose those 3 things. And even at a young age, I was pretty independent spirited. I was like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. I mean, I want to do something else. I don't want to do this stuff with the other kids. And I enlisted helped my friend Jesse, who's also a kid that we used to make all these ridiculous videos together. And we said, we're gonna do a magic show. And they're like, do you know how to do magic? And both of us are going, yes, we do know how to do magic. So we had these they made wizard costumes. The PTA was helping out. So these moms sewed this wizard costume for us, and we went to Tannen's Magic Shop in New York City. I grew up not far from New York, and we went in there and we bought like a dove pan, and I did the trick with the 2 buttons, where you close your hands really fast, and the 1 button flies across. And I mean, it must have been a horrible show, but we were in 6th grade, and people they had their baked goods. They had seen the joust and the maypole, and so they were very happy to see the magic show. And I think it even continued on after that. I think that was the first magic show I ever did. Was that show? It was a disaster. I'm sure it was a disaster. I'm having trouble even remembering the details of it, but since then I've always had an interest, and I was really fortunate to live near an SYM assembly in Stamford, Connecticut, which was about an hour and a half away, and my parents were gracious enough to drive me once a month. And then once I got my driver's license at 16, I started driving myself, and I would get lost without fail. Every single month I would get lost. I have a horrible sense of direction. One time I wound up in Manhattan somehow, trying to drive from Rockland to Connecticut. And this was before cell phones and before maps, and I really didn't know what the hell to do or how to get back. But the Bill Andrews Assembly was great. It was really great. I learned my first real trick there, which was the $1 to $100 bill switch.
Oh wow!
The old school Klaus version, and that trick basically built my close-up career in high school, because I started doing that trick, and I learned some other tricks, and I started doing bar mitzvahs, and I started doing some little walk-around gigs in restaurants and things, and then I met Brad Henderson.
Okay.
And Brad Henderson worked at the summer camp that I went to. And even back then, and this is probably 25 years ago, Brad seemed like an old man. And I didn't realize.
Well,
now,
that makes sense.
Well, but looking back on it, he was like 27. I mean, really.
I really hope he's not listening to
Yeah,
this.
he probably won't.
He definitely won't.
I don't think so. But he was, he had the pointy beard. Actually, you know what? I don't know if he had a beard at that time.
It's like Max Maven. It's
Right,
all ageless.
When he was 20, he was like an ageless, like sage. And Brad was the same way. He just always seemed older than the other counselors. He seemed wise beyond his years, and he had that professorial way of speaking, and he did not take shit from anyone. I mean, even as kids, as hard as he is on people, he was that hard on kids. But if you're good, he recognizes that and he encourages you. And if you show some initiative, he will teach you a lot. Mm-hmm. And that was the experience I had with Brad. Is I came in there with a little bit of knowledge and I left with so much more. And even just, I mean, I showed him the $100 bill change, and by the end of the summer, I was doing it on stage like Nate Lipsig with like a committee on stage, and I still do this trick in my act. Like, it's such a beautiful trick, and I remember so vividly the guy at the SYM sitting. He had shown it, and I asked him about it, and finally I had done whatever I needed to do to prove that I would take care of the secret and learn the techniques. And he took me aside and he showed me this trick, and it blew my fucking mind. It really did. It blew my mind because it connected a lot of dots for me as a young kid in magic. People always talk about thumb tips and I was like, it's that stupid trick with the silk. Like, that's so dumb. Why is this such a popular gimmick? And he showed me this miracle that you could do, and just the mechanics of it are kind of beautiful. Mm-hmm. The engineering of where things move and how they change. It's actually like,
it's like a choreography, correct?
It is. It's a beautiful thing, and that was the first real secret of magic that I remember so vividly, and
being bestowed upon you by a sage.
Yeah, and it was that fraternity type of thing, because this guy had taught it to me. He taught me the technique, and then Brad really taught me like the presentation of it and the meaning of it and the power of it, and I've carried it with me the rest of my life. So not to get too philosophical about it, but that was really a potent moment for me, or a potent effect or magic trick that kind of followed me through my maturation of in the art form or the craft or whatever you want to call it. And I was very into it, very, very dedicated. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I was extremely studious, probably more so than even with my academic work. Just read voraciously and really gravitated towards, makes a lot of sense. It was David Williamson, Harry Anderson, Matt King, these sorts of guys, and it doesn't fit a kid so well, but I did what I could with it, and I think I was ambitious enough that I started working a lot.
Sure.
I knew how to talk to adults, and I was fairly well spoken for my age, and I didn't overstep, and I wasn't always trying to be the center of attention, so I would go to an event and I would impress the right people and keep my mouth shut when I needed to, and I would continue to get booked. And I was like, my first wedding I ever went to was as a magician at like 17, and I was working TGI Fridays on Fridays and Dave & Buster's on Saturdays, and I was raking it in. I'm a teenager and I was raking it in. It was great. But in high school I was Magic Rubin. That was like, people just called me Magic. And I played lacrosse, and I did the morning announcements, and I put together the video yearbook, and I was very anything that wasn't specifically schoolwork. I was all about it. And I did all this stuff in high school, but very much, and I talk about this a lot with friends now, when somebody finds out you're a magician, they can't think of anything else.
Oh yeah.
It's just such an unusual thing to be, that when they meet you and they find that out, it colors their perception of you for the rest of your relationship. It's like you're a porn star or a stripper or like a proctologist.
Yes.
It's such an unusual and interesting thing that you can't forget it.
Yeah.
So I was Magic Rubin, and that was it. I was Magic Rubin, and I didn't perform a ton. That was the best thing about having gigs, is somebody be like, "Hey, do a trick, Magic, do a trick," and I'd be like, "Come see me at Dave & Buster's, or come see me at this gig."
Sure.
I would do formal shows. They had a poetry slam. I would do magic. They had a talent show. I would do magic. But I wasn't like breaking out tricks at parties and stuff. That was just never my style. I just really didn't like making myself the center of attention.
But why is it? Is it you feel like you're cheating? Like you're supposed to use social skills to blend in a party, or you think it's like if you did magic, it's just a shortcut?
I think it's not. I don't have a problem with it. I have good friends that are very much social performers. I think it's more that when you perform in a more theatrical setting, you realize the power of that performance, right? And then you start to, so it's two sides. There's one that you start to miss it. You start to miss the kind of theatricality, the context of a performance where there's a beginning, there's a setting, and then there's an end, and there's context for it, so that when it's over, it's over. So you miss that because then in a theater, nobody comes up to you after and goes, "Hey, can you do another one? Can you do another one? Show me that one again."
Well, if you're good, they do.
Well, I get the hell out of there after the show.
They say, "Okay, we had enough, Adam. Thank you.
Please leave now, sir."
The lights went down.
We'll send you a bill. It's that part of it, and then it's also the part of it that it's like I always like to think about it like a gunslinger. You keep the gun under the coat. Mm-hmm. You walk around with the gun out all the time. What do you got? Something to prove to everybody? Mm-hmm. You keep the gun under the coat, and then when the time is right, you flash the gun. And if the time is really right, you shoot the gun. But most of the time, you don't even have to shoot.
But some people feel like they need to shoot all the time.
Some people are in there like Yosemite Sam, shooting up the whole fucking place.
Depends where you live. It depends where you live.
Exactly. So I tried to have a lot of discretion with when I would perform so that it would be more special when I did. Mm-hmm. And to the point when I went to college, I went away to college in St. Louis at WashU, I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody that I do magic. It was because it was a big part of me, and it still was a big part of me. It wasn't so big a part of me that I was like reading blogs or reading books. I mean, seriously, people did not know that I did magic for most of my college career. Some of my really close friends maybe knew, but I just didn't. I wanted to see what I was like without it. What was my personality like, and what would people's reaction to me be like if I didn't perform magic?
Did you have an impulse to perform magic and you were denying yourself that?
The thing was, I was secretly performing. There was a guy named Dan Fleshman in St. Louis.
Well, you wore a mask and you went to dark alleys.
No, I was writing the Magic Circle jerk.
Can't tell me my name, just pick a card.
Josh really thinks that's me, though. By the way, he took me aside. He thinks it's me.
That's funny.
That's very funny.
So, but at this time, I met a guy named Dan Fleshman. Somebody had introduced us. I knew some people. I had put out some tricks, and I was kind of dialed in with the magic community. I knew a bunch of the guys, and they knew I was in St. Louis, and he needed somebody to cover his Dave & Buster's gig. So on Saturday nights, I would sneak off campus and drive to Dave & Buster's and do this walk-around gig.
Wow.
And I never told anybody. But I was still performing. I went into an acting track, and I founded a comedy group. So I was actually getting up on stage quite a lot.
You were getting that attention that you needed.
I don't know that it was attention as much as it was
like a platform.
I don't know what it was. The acting for me was a challenge, and I liked learning it, and it is very much a craft, and I did it I was cast in a few plays, and had a lot of fun doing that. I like the laughs. I think I like that fulfillment of making a room full of people laugh. If you've never had that experience, it's so electrifying to just
it's rewarding.
Stand on stage and say something, everybody laughs because you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Sometimes with magic, you can feel this adversarial relationship with your audience where it's you versus them, or you know something that they don't, and they're trying to get you, and they're trying to catch you, and that's hard. You got to kind of fight against that. Mm-hmm. Some people are really good at that, making it feel like we're all in this together. But with comedy, most of the time when you're doing comedy, you make everybody laugh. It's a signal that we're all on the same page. We're all experiencing the same thing together, and that's really cathartic. And so I learned how to do improv comedy by reading Mick Napier's book in college, and we put this little group together called Suspicious of Whistlers. This was 12 years ago. It's still going. They had the 10-year reunion. We went back and met all these kids. I felt so old. It was really crazy. They had Facebook in elementary school. It was really bizarre, and it's been great. That was where my passion kind of moved towards, was comedy. Mm-hmm. So in college, though I didn't do much magic, I did a little bit. And then, like, once I had sort of established myself, you go to college to kind of discover yourself. Once I had kind of figured out, grown into myself, I realized I can do magic whenever I want. And it doesn't define me. It's a thing it's a part of me. And so I started performing a little bit more towards the end of college in some of the comedy clubs and just kind of like informally for people. And it was a lot of fun because it was like a renewed perspective, a totally refreshed perspective on what I used to do, because now I felt more like a actual human being that could then bring some worldview to this beautiful, arcane art form.
But I have to interject here.
Go ahead.
I've heard this again. Like I'm trying to understand it more. I'm not expressing an opinion, but you said I felt like an actual human being.
Yeah.
So if I was, I don't know, a painter, a famous painter, and everywhere I walk, people say, "Oh, he's a painter and is also that," or I'm a singer or whatever, an actor.
Yeah.
Why is that not making me a real human being? Why the fact that you are wearing many hats, and one of them is you are a magician, and I know that, I'm aware of it. Why is it making you less of a human being?
I think it's because it's about being a well-rounded person. And that's not to say that you can be singularly focused in your passion, but I think you still need time to experience other things in your early development. It's the same reason why you hear a lot of child actors say that why they go crazy, or why they like feel like Emma who was Hermione? Emma
Stone?
Stone.
No, Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson, right? So is it Emma Thompson? No, that's an old British lady, isn't it?
No.
Emma Thompson. Anyway, the Hermione.
How am I? Emma. God.
You can always
whatever her name is. She's she's
I'm gonna look it up because
nice.
I don't want
She was cast in this movie like super young. Oh, she was like, I don't know, 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she felt like she was going crazy because she was Hermione. She was actors. Like her whole life was this thing, and that's what you do to yourself when you become obsessed with magic. You kind of shut yourself off to other sorts of things because you're so singularly focused, which is in some ways a great thing, because a lot of people go through life without any passion, and they should be super jealous of magicians because, I mean, how lucky are we that so many of our friends are passionate artists, right?
Yes.
Most people can't say that. They don't know people that love their jobs. They don't know one, maybe. We know, like, most of our friends love their jobs. That's rare. Yeah. That's special. But you need that time to experience the world, to travel, to see theater, to see opera, to write, to hear music, to try to learn an instrument or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to like drink and party and talk about sports and whatever, but to step away from it.
That's a personality thing, because I feel like as a human being, like since I know myself, I wasn't just, I love magic, I'm going to look. I love theater, I love comedy, I love art, I love graphic design, like a lot of things. And I'm always learning about those things as the years go by.
Look, everybody's development is different. I needed a time to step away from it, and then I came back to it. And I think I'm more into it now. No, I wouldn't say that. I was the most I've ever been into it was high school. I mean, I used to freaking run home from high school, watch The Simpsons, and read magic books. That was like my whole life. Reading The Far Side and magic
That's
books.
pretty good, yeah.
And I used to.
That's a very rounded education, in my opinion. Simpson and card tricks.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, yeah, Tommy Wonder and Matt Groening. More probably Sam Simon at that point. But I continued on the path with the comedy. It really appealed to me, and I loved the fact that it was inclusive. Imagine you go to a gig and there's 5 other people that are sharing the gig with you, and after the gig you get to talk about how it went with these other people, and you all share in this. Mm-hmm. That's really what a great social and just it was such a wonderful.
Fulfilling.
It was so fulfilling. It was such a wonderful social network to be a part of. And after I graduated, I moved to Chicago to study improv with Mick Napier, who is now like a really good friend, and I've taught for the Annoyance now and been a part of that theater for a long time, both in Chicago and New York. But I got bit by the improv bug, just like I got bit by the magic bug, because it's so what's the word I'm looking for here? Where it's just you're part of something.
Can tell the word in Hebrew.
Yeah, what is it in Hebrew? You're giving yourself away, by the way.
What do you mean? But here's the thing: you became obsessed about improv.
Yeah.
when I come obsessed about something else, I immediately start see relationships and how similar it is, and I feel like I've learned from art about magic as much as I learned from magic about art, and vice versa. Like it's all interchangeable.
Yeah, I agree.
Because all arts are connected.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great connections and cross-pollination that happen when you expose yourself to these other sorts of things. But for a long time, I was doing just the pure improvisational comedy. I was in a group at Improv Olympic. It was so fun. It was so fun. We really got to know each other. We'd get up on stage and just make shit up and come from nothing. And it felt like magic in that way. And we were together for like 4 or 5 years, which is unheard of in that town. I mean, they axe improv groups left and right, but a couple of the guys now have gone on and they're on Second City main stage.
Wow.
And, I mean, really talented people, and it was just luck of the draw that we got put together and we really clicked. And at the same time, I was writing a lot of comedy over at The Annoyance. So it was sort of related, because you see then how the improv at The Annoyance was used as part of the process. It wasn't the final entertainment product. It was part of the process, part of the discovery, and part of the way that you would write and create these shows. And so that's where I find it's valuable for magic, because that mindset of, oh, anything can happen, let's try this, well, let's try that yes and type of spirit, that fearlessness was really helpful in creation of all kinds. That is, I think, the biggest lesson I took away from it. I used to do this show, I shouldn't talk about this, I used to do this show, and Mick Napier is an amazing character and a good friend, but like a horrible pervert and hedonist. And he had the show.
What's his name again?
So
it's clear on the.
His name is Mick Napier. You can look him up.
Napier.
His book is a seminal work of improv comedy. It's called Improvise.
Yeah.
And he's got a new book.
Available on Amazon.com.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Yeah. Anyway, Mick has some odd sexual proclivities, and he loves scotch, and he used to chain smoke, and he's amended his ways quite a bit. But he's a guru. He would hate to hear me use that word, but he is, for a lot of people, like the Juan Tamariz of comedy. They make a pilgrim.
Specifically improv.
Specifically
Short form or
improv.
long
But he
form?
directed Second City. He directed Exit 57, which was a TV show with Stephen Colbert and Amy Sedaris, and he directed Martin Short's one-man show off Broadway. I mean, he's directed and been in charge of both scripted and non-scripted stuff. And so people would come and have this like odd moment with him, and then he'd like, have just be so curt with them, just like so vulgar. And he, in a way, he kind of hates comedy. But I guess maybe Juan can relate to that too. The point is, he did this show called Skimprov. Okay, he put the show together. This is his like gay twisted fantasy show, where throughout the show, it would start at midnight, and like bachelorette parties would come, and just like local perverts would come and sit in the back. And throughout the show, everybody would start with their clothes on, and they would improvise the whole show. And by the end of the show, slowly but surely, everyone would take all their clothes off until at the very end, everybody's in their skivvies.
Including the crowd?
No, just the people on stage.
Like, wow, I want to go to that show.
Probably some people in the crowd.
Yeah, you never know
see
what
that
was going on. The lights were bright. You couldn't tell what was going on in the show, in the crowd. And it was kind of this, like... And all of us would make fun of the show. Because most of the people that did the show were, like, any, like, ripped gay dudes that Mick hung out with. And they were... I mean, some of them were really funny, and some of them were not so funny. They just, everybody wanted to see them with their clothes off. And he asked me to do the show one time. And it was sort of a challenge. Like...
Feeling comfortable naked?
Not just feeling comfortable naked, making up shit naked, trying to do comedy while you're naked, being surrounded by a bunch of other dudes naked, some of whom are like professional bodybuilders.
It sounds easy though.
Well, for you maybe it sounds easy.
No!
Well, so the point is, it was terrifying, but I couldn't say no, because the whole idea, his whole philosophy is fuck fear. That's like, if I had to boil the book down to two words, it's fuck fear. And so
Which
I
is
went
FF.
there. FF. Yeah, if we want to boil it down to 2 letters, yeah. And I did it, and I was up there. I was up there shaking it in front of a whole bunch of strangers and trying to make jokes that, pretending I was whatever.
And was it easier or more difficult?
You know what? Once I got up there, it wasn't so bad, but it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was definitely scary, and it was a good thing to do, because it was sort of jumping through that hoop of fire. And now, my ad career I've come across people, great creative directors, great account executives, that you put them in front of 6 people in a room to present a project and they wither. And to me, it's like, once you've been on stage with no lines trying to make a crowd laugh in your underpants, what can scare me now?
Yeah.
So there was that trial by fire, and I think that was a big lesson for me, is what's the worst that can happen?
That's a huge lesson.
On the flip side, I will tell you this. Partway through my comedy career in Chicago, it was revealed to me that Mick loves card tricks.
Oh.
And when he stopped smoking, he had this sort of fascination, like he needed something to do with his hands. And so he started playing with the cards all the time, and I kind of outed myself to him that I was sort of into magic.
I do this thing.
Right? I'm kind of interested in magic. You know, I have shelves and shelves of books at home. Let me show you some stuff. And so we started bonding over this then. Outside, like, totally, we had already established a relationship with the comedy, and I had known him for years, and then we started this deeper relationship with the magic, and we put together a show that ran at the theater. And he told me, and I agree with him, nothing is scarier on stage than performing a magic trick. Because
Really?
in comedy, if something goes wrong, it's funny. You know? And in magic, if something goes wrong, it bursts the bubble. It, like, the
stakes are much higher.
The stakes are so high, and the smallest mistake can ruin that illusion so completely. Everything comes crumbling to the ground.
And then it's affecting the whole show.
And it affects the whole show, and, like, you feel like you've let the audience down, you've let yourself down, and so it's really, you've let, like, all the magicians that came before you that taught you down. So there's an enormous amount of pressure with magic tricks. I always say it's like doing a puppet show on a unicycle, but you can't let the audience know you're on a unicycle or it ruins it for everyone. So you've got this whole other layer going on that's really hard, that's taking a lot of physical and mental energy, and you got to pretend like it's not even happening.
And you have to do that at the beginning too. You're not allowed to fuck up.
That's
like
right.
Young comedians are.
That's right. It's really hard. Magic is really, really hard. I think it's the hardest performing art, because any show you do, once you get up on stage, you've got to have choreography, you've got to have good writing, blocking, there's got to be some sort of narrative or emotional journey, you connect with the audience. So these are all the things that you have to do as any performer, a dancer, a singer, an actor. You have to cover all those bases, and then on top of that, you've got this secret stuff going on.
Yeah, the invisible technique and all that.
Yeah, the technique, the psychology, the pacing, all the sorts of considerations that the audience can't know about. And I think the problem with a lot of magic is that is so immense a responsibility that people stop there sometimes. They're like, okay, I got that. Now I don't need to worry about the showmanship or the pacing or the rhythm or the personal connection with the audience or whatever, that emotional journey or whatever, all the things that you would continue to hone as an actor or as any sort of variety performer.
The most important parts for
it's the duck on the water type of thing.
Yeah.
The audience only sees the duck above the water. Like, magic is the little feet going so hard beneath the water, but no matter how perfect that technique of the swimming and however fast that duck can move, the audience will only ever really appreciate what's happening above the water. And so you need to think about that. And it's hard. That's why magic is so freaking hard. It's really difficult to do it in a way that shows respect to the technique, shows respect to the heritage of the art form, and at the same time advances it forward, connects with the audience, and presents it in a modern way. That's why, it's sad to say, there's so few like truly great modern magicians that can go up in front of any audience and just make them fall in love with magic.
Why is that?
It's because it's hard,
a mystery
man.
To me.
It's fucking hard, that's why.
Is that why?
I really believe that's why.
There has to be more than... To me, I agree it's hard, but there has to be more than that. There has to be more reasons why it's happening so often that we see bad magic.
Well, you see bad magic a lot because you are a magician, and so you see a lot of magicians.
Yeah.
I would say the average person sees a magician every 5 years.
Okay.
So that's what's so sad about these guys that are really terrible, is that they may be the only magician somebody sees. and forever after that, they're like,
That's
hate
a
magic.
repetition they have.
It's the same with opera, right? How often do you see an opera? I see an opera quite often because Bill Kalush is generous with his tickets. but you know, if
Same here.
right? Yeah, exactly. But
And they're good seats, by the way.
How about like modern dance? Modern dance, right? Huge spectrum of possibilities with modern dance. Like the Hubbard Street Dance Company in Chicago, I think I saw some of them, and I forget I saw something like 2 years ago, but I really have not seen that much modern dance in my life. So, say I go to see a modern dance show, and it's a bad troupe. What am I to judge, right? I have no base, so they do something, it's weird, I don't like the music, it's long, and I go, well, shit, I don't like modern dance. Because I don't see a lot of modern dance, and so that's all I've got
Do you like
to judge
modern
by.
dance?
Yeah, no, I'm not crazy about it.
You see, I love it because I was exposed to a lot of great
There
modern
you go,
dance. Yes.
there you go.
Didn't see Pina?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The movie?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
Well, I clearly I need to go out and see some more modern dance.
It's beautiful.
But people don't feel that way about magic, and there's not that many opportunities. Like if I go back to New York and I say I'm going to go see some modern dance, there's probably quite a few options. But magic is so rare that, I mean, on any given month, you got maybe 2-3 opportunities to see magic in New York.
But there's quite a bunch now. You have, Dan White doing the...
Right,
the
Dan
known,
White's doing his thing.
And you have Steve Cohen doing the wardrobe.
Sure. Steve Cohen. Hi, Steve. Love Steve Cohen.
Applaud. Go see it.
Yeah.
Is it Friday, Saturday?
That is actually a great date night. I mean, that is a great thing to go and see. I've sent
Just
quite a
being
few
in
people.
that space is amazing.
The space is amazing.
Amazing.
You got to dress up. It's all very elegant. I really like Steve's show. I recommend it highly. But even still, let's say there's 4 a week. That's not that much.
Yeah.
And most people don't seek it out. And so when you have a guy that's bad that's out there doing 20 shows a month, he's like doing more bad than good for the art.
Yes.
And so that was why I started performing more in earnest lately and hitting the comedy clubs, because I feel this weird responsibility
To show people it's not what they think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say that without sounding like a pompous ass.
But you are, so go with it.
True,
And
true.
we
I should
ought to be.
just
We
own it,
ought
right?
to be pompous
Just be who you are,
Just
okay?
own it. I'm on a
Just
podcast,
be
right?
who you are.
Like, this is not the time
You
to be
can
humble.
always edit it out, but we won't.
Right.
So
Well,
go
of
ahead.
course.
I mean, I feel that I don't necessarily need the magic up on stage, but I want to bring it in there because I love it. It's amazing.
No,
It's such a beautiful, beautiful art form.
it is.
And part of the reason I feel that way is because it's one of the only ways to elicit a controlled reaction of astonishment.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you feel like when somebody hits a half-court shot at the buzzer.
Yeah.
But how rare is that? Think about all the things that need to happen for that moment to be like, what? And you feel this moment of just complete disbelief. It's not because you think it's impossible, but in the same way of magic, it is that same feeling of impossibility that this could not, I cannot believe that this happened.
Yeah.
And magic can do that.
Sure.
It's a really powerful emotion, and what a wonderful cathartic experience it is if you can embrace that feeling in the right way. And it really takes a lot to get an audience to a place where they can let that land with them and really let it wash over them. But when you can, and I've seen you do it, and I've seen other people do it, and I want to get to that point too where people are sitting in the audience just like getting that warm fuzzy feeling that when you were a little kid and you know you see that bubble for the first time, and it's just mind blowing.
It is.
So I love that part of it. And I really do love it. I have a deep love for magic, and what I don't love is like the ego, the magician type of character, and that sort of power trip that comes along with it, which is part of the reason I'm so drawn to designing impossible objects and puzzles that don't require a person to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, I've talked a lot.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
It's a sequence of 3.5 questions.
3.5?
And they're all related.
Okay.
So, what have you learned about magic from the moment you started doing improv? Like, how improv changed your magic?
I don't mean to interrupt on my show, but
No, I'm just a
Elliott
guest.
is way too polite on his own podcast.
well, no, I was gonna say the reason that I love it when comedians do magic or magicians take up comedy is because comedians read the audience and they're in tune with what's happening in the room. So
Yeah, for sure.
magicians are
You
not.
realize what happened? I asked you a question and he answered it
I
basically.
answered
Yeah.
it for you, and
Yeah,
that, well,
so
that's
you
what I
just
want to.
Well,
I just want to.
I don't know. I don't know. To me, you know, improv and magic. I had a long discussion with somebody years ago about jazz magic,
Yeah.
And I think jazz magic is bullshit.
Really? Okay. Go there.
I
Let's
do.
go there.
I think jazz magic is bullshit because it's not really jazz. I mean, you're improvising. Absolutely. You are improvising. You are finding solutions in the moment, right? But those are from a set tree of possibilities.
But isn't it what jazz players do as well? I'm not a musician, but I've heard that they have those tools and they can move from one loop to like
they know the key they're playing.
Yeah, it's not like they're inventing the whole piece from scratch.
No, totally. But I think the difference is that there is true discovery. I think to truly improvise, you have to have that element of discovery, and you have to have that element of unknown outcomes.
Okay.
Whereas with jazz magic, what you're really doing is problem solving. You're really in an incredibly fluid and quick way solving problems, because you know where you want to go. You know where you need to go, for the most part. You know where you need to go. The card needs to be found, or you need to get this number, or you need them to land on this place, or you need them to choose this pile, or whatever it is. So the outcome is kind of known, but you take a circuitous route to get there, or you don't know how you're going to get there, but you know where you're going to get to. Whereas with improv comedy, you don't know where the hell you're going to go. Sometimes it comes back around, sometimes it doesn't, but there's just, I feel like the difference is that in magic, when you improvise, you're thinking, what tool am I going to use? What is right for this situation? Right? What will I...
This is an improv.
This is a magic.
In magic.
When you're improvising with magic, you're like, what...
Well,
it could go this way. Yeah. It could go this way. Which is the best way to go? Whatever they do, I will seamlessly and organically move on to this known set of circumstances to get to where I need to go. And that there's absolutely an element of improvisation there, but I don't know that there's necessarily an element of discovery. And to me, that's what's really beautiful about improv is you didn't know, you wound up in a place you didn't ever know you could get to. And that's what is really exciting about when you see very good high-level improv, which is just as rare as good magic, by the way. It seems like magic because you're like, how the fuck did they get there? How did that come to be? And so that's the difference for me. I think there's skill sets that apply to both, but magic is extremely structured, right? You need that climax, otherwise it's not a magic trick. Whereas with improv, you really don't know where it's going to go. You really don't know where it's going to end. And so in that way, it's inherently different to me.
But I've heard from comedians that do improv a lot. It's very much like, our experience where you get the same questions, you get the same...
Well,
so
there's
some repetitiveness that
well, you're talking
you've
about,
said something and you're going to use it again and
for
again.
For sure. But you're talking about two different things. You're talking about short form improv, which is like Whose Line Is It Anyway, with the bell and the games. I've never done that.
Okay, so what are you talking about?
What I did, and it's called long form improv, if we're getting real technical about it, or the Herald, right?
I guess you didn't hear me.
What is it?
I asked earlier.
What is long form?
No, what is? Were you doing short form?
No, I've never done short
answer
form.
the questions.
Sorry.
You're here to answer the
Jesus,
freaking
could you
questions.
just put the gun down for a second? It would just relax me.
We're trying to get somewhere with this.
All right. Do you have a towel? So I think that the distinction can be sort of vague, but generally with long form improv, or sometimes they call it the Herald, there's different forms, there's different names for the forms, but the essential difference is that there's less structure. So in a game, in a short form game, it might be something like there's rules, there's somebody comes out and explains the parameters before you begin, and then there's little pieces that happen. Which with long form improv, generally what happens is that there's a suggestion taken, whether it's one word or it's some sort of idea generation, that the free form is performed on stage, and then it's pulled from that for 20 to 30 minutes, the players will make stuff up and form scenes and patterns and organically create different tableaus or patterns or whatever the hell they're doing up there without any sort of interruption or without any sort of further input. So that's the difference.
Interesting.
And it can be extremely painful and boring to watch. But when it's good, it's great. Like I said, as rare to see good improv as
you basically learned so far that kind of improv cannot exist in magic. But even though you realize that, okay, this is not where it doesn't parallel, but did you learn something from those improvs and use it in magic
Definitely.
in a way that, like, for example?
Absolutely. And that's what I was sort of touching on with Elliott earlier is that the thought process of improv and that those mental muscles that you develop and those sorts of approaches that you develop are really invaluable for idea generation. Not just for magic, but for anything. I used that sort of thinking and that sort of approach every single day in my ad career. And it would drive people crazy sometimes because, I'd go off for an hour or 2 hours and come back with a huge amount of ideas and work done because you just can't judge right away. I used to get so frustrated with people because when I was training young creatives in the agency, they would say something, and the second they said it, they would start judging it and destroying the thing they just created.
That is a mistake.
And I would say, what do you do? Look, it's a baby bird, okay? When it first comes out of your brain, it's a baby bird. You got to nurture it to see if it's going to fly. It might not. It might die in the nest, but if you squash it right away, it's never going to turn into anything. Yeah. And so I think that's a mistake people make a lot of the time when they're trying to generate ideas, is that in the generation phase, they bring in too much judgment. And you have to really eliminate judgment when you're first trying to just amass your thoughts, when you're just trying to just fill pages or fill the wall. I like to write on the wall. That's like my favorite thing, is how satisfying is that? You start in a room with white walls and then you just fill the walls with, it might be worthless. I mean, the next day you might come in and be like, this is all gibberish. So
maybe the analogy is like, it's when you have a kid, it's like a toddler, and he does a drawing and go, wow, that's amazing.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. That's how you treat your ideas.
That's right. You nurture it because they might turn into that painter that walks around and everybody thinks they're a great painter. But they never will if you start telling them they're no good right away.
That is true.
So that approach, I think, is really helpful for magic, not just for presentation, and this is going to sound crazy, but also for methodology.
Of course.
Because sometimes you have a method and you're like, it doesn't work. Right? You try it and it doesn't work.
It's like almost like the anti-pharaoh, correct?
Sure.
I mean, how ridiculous is that?
It's a ridiculous idea.
Like, just think about how he came up with it. It has to have been a ridiculous idea. Like somebody thinking that they can spring the cars and cause them to anti-pharaoh. It's crazy. It has to come from that bird who definitely cannot fly, and you should have killed it right away.
Long ago,
right? Come on,
long ago.
This is not going to happen.
Exactly.
This is craziness.
And then there's like 3 people in the world who can do it.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's really valuable to in that generation phase delay any judgment and just let that stuff breathe for a minute. And then when you come back to it, you'll find some affinity for something. There'll be some spark for one thing you wrote or drew or taped or said or made, and you got to follow that instinct, right? If you can never know what other people are going to like.
That's true.
Only what you're going to like.
How do you shut that instinct off to squash it? How do you practice not judging something?
Well, there are some great exercises in Mick's book about how to improvise by yourself. Mm-hmm. And it sounds sort of nuts,
What's
but
the name of the book, do you know?
It's called Improvise.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, it's called Improvise. There's a new one out that's really great too, and I don't know the name of it. I mean, it's just come out. I think Bob Odenkirk wrote the foreword for it. Stephen Colbert wrote the foreword for the previous one. There's new editions. They're really beautifully designed. They look great, and I'm sure they're available on Amazon. The thing he talks about in there, and the thing that sounds a little nuts, is that one of the best ways to learn to improvise by yourself is just by talking to yourself. And it's a great way to just get your ideas out there and just sort of have these discussions with yourself. And you can take it to the extreme like Stuart James did and have like these imaginary friends that all have different personalities that give you different sort of creative perspectives, so you have your own little collaboration.
As long as you don't do it in public, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, or just buy a Bluetooth headset and then you can do it wherever the hell you want.
Pretend like you're talking to a new
Yeah. I have 100% done that walking down the streets in New York, but nobody gives a crap in New York. That's the greatest thing. In New York, you can talk to yourself.
Because there are many creative people in New York.
There's a lot of creatives
who do improv on the street with themselves. Exactly. And they don't have a frame, they have crowds,
That's
correct? Because they project their voice and they talk really loud.
And it's a good way to get space on the subway, too, if you're feeling crowded.
I don't know. That doesn't.
No, not so much.
I don't think so. So to go extreme.
So what's so you had 3.5 questions. I'm not sure how many we got through.
Oh.
But I'm curious about the half question.
Okay, so the second question is.
Okay.
So your obsession with improv kind of like suppressed the obsession you had with magic, did that push it away? Did you do less magic because of it?
No, not really. When I was in Chicago, I think I was most productive. It was probably the most productive time of my life in generating magic, generating new material. And maybe it has to do with what I was just talking about. It also probably just has to do with the fact that Stan asked me to write a column for magic, and so I had a deadline every month, and so I felt this sort of latent pressure to create stuff, and also just to dig through the old notebooks and find all the stuff that I never wrote up before. So that was a really productive time for me creatively, and I think I came up with some of my best stuff during that time period. And it was also a time where I met Gabe Fahuri in Chicago, and so I got introduced to I kind of got introduced to the history of the art and really got interested in the artifacts and the legacy of some of these of the Golden Age performers, and then discovered Martin Gardner and Stuart James and these kind of guys that are really inspirational to me. Started going to the Gathering for Gardner, got invited to the 31 Faces North, and met Derek Delgadio and David Ben and Michael Weber, who are guys that were hugely influential on me as an adult, even because I felt like I was in the back room. I felt like I was like in the inner sanctum and was just listening as much as possible and sharing stuff, and then getting feedback on what I was sharing. It gave me a great confidence in what I was creating, that these guys who I had always had so much respect for were responding positively to it. So I would say that I've certainly become more involved in magic after college and while I was in Chicago, and now in New York. It's just such a great place to be. There's so many great magicians in New York right now. Noel Levine and Steve Schiffo and Matt Prakash. These guys are just awesome to be around. There's another guy with an A, I forget his name. Jewish guy, forget. Anyway.
That Israeli guy, no?
Is he Israeli?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't know what his name is.
It's okay.
But so yeah, I think that they were parallel. One didn't push away from the other in any way. I think that the improv gave me a lot of confidence on stage, gave me a lot of skills that helped me present. And then, of course, like we talked about before, there's all the hard work to be done to make the trick work and right and perfect and seamless, to make it seem like nothing is happening that isn't apparently happening, except for the impossible part, which is like the magic trick part of it.
So my half question is, who's listening to this podcast?
Right now, two of us at one point or another are listening to it.
But who do you think were the kind of people who listen to this podcast?
The kind of people that I want to listen to it and that I think will be interested in it are people that are maybe into magic, maybe just into performing and learning about different people's experiences with, performance theory coming from maybe comedy or, deep theater, acting, things like that. And just kind of getting to the heart of why magic is important, why it's powerful, and how it can be influential, where it's not just about, here's a color change. It can be something much more.
Well, that's something I don't want to sound like a fogey, and I probably am twice the age of most of the guys that are going to listen to this podcast, but...
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
But you're pretty young. How old are you?
I'm 32.
Pretty young. You're younger than me.
Yeah, but I'm 1 billion seconds old.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about it. So 30th birthday is kind of the last one that counts for a while.
Which one?
30th.
Yeah.
You know, when you're 30, you got to wait till 40, right? The other ones are good. But when you're 31.6, you turn 1 billion seconds old. So it's a really good excuse to have a party.
Did you figure that by yourself, or someone told you about this?
I was wondering about it. I was wondering when I was going to turn 1 billion seconds old, and I did the math, and you were like 31.6.
That makes you a true
Asi, did you not know that I was a geek?
I know you're a geek, but that makes
Improv.
you...
Come on, man.
The fact that you know you're 1 billion seconds old.
Yeah.
And you were waiting for that. That's
Dude,
amazing.
Come on. You should look at my Netflix queue. You'd be like, what's wrong with this guy? It's like all David Attenborough documentaries and space stuff. So...
As the lamb.
Yeah, exactly. I love that guy. If I was going to have a dinner with any 3 living people, he's alive still, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would be him, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Colbert. That would be my
all at
three.
the same time.
That would be great. But we were talking about podcasts, who's going to listen, and I hate to admit, but I was talking to Elliott before. It's like, I can't listen to podcasts.
Why?
Because I'm a writer, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm working, I have to write words. If there's words playing, I can't even listen to music with words. I'll start typing those words. They're distracting me. You can't write while you're listening to words. For me, I listen to a lot of like jazz and classical music.
This American Life?
Can't do it.
No.
Can't do it because either I won't know what I'm writing or I won't know what they're saying. I can't do both at once.
So you need to be like in a jail cell.
Pretty much.
No distraction,
I like
no
to
phones.
I listen to them in my car or like when I'm cooking dinner or something like that.
So I have an idea.
Yeah.
Transcribe the whole thing and publish it on your Facebook.
It would just be meaningless drivel. Don't you realize like how ineloquent and like rambling everything we're saying is?
It's funny.
But I tried the other day. My girlfriend loves podcasts, and she was listening to one, and it's like I'm like a deer in headlights when they're on. I can't process conversation. I can't do anything. I like don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do.
The visuals, where are they?
I'm like, what? I could look at a book of photography maybe. That would be the only thing. Because I don't drive, right? I'm in the city. I don't drive. Mm-hmm. And then, so I don't really listen to podcasts.
For the sake of balance and for the listeners, if we have any, I love podcasts.
Good.
Continue.
Good.
Clearly, I do too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you guys. I'm glad.
What's some of your favorite podcasts?
Yeah, what do you like?
Just so you can get into them, man.
This American Life.
This American Life. I've listened to it before, and I really enjoy it.
I do like it.
I just don't find time for it now because since I quit my job, I don't even have a commute in the morning. I used to listen to stuff on the walk into work, but part of me just really likes to be present and aware of the sounds of the city when you're walking around New York. There's just so much interesting stuff going on. There's so much inspiration just in the little things that are happening around. There's a million stories in any city, as they say. So
it's quite a noisy city.
It's quite a noisy city, but I'm down in the village, so it's not quite as noisy, but there's just a lot. It's so dense. There's such a fabric of humanity there that you see a million kinds of things happening walking 20 blocks to get to work. And so now I don't even have that commute anymore. I should maybe just fabricate a commute and walk around the neighborhood for 20 minutes and listen to a podcast.
It's good on many reasons.
Yeah. I do like getting out of it. I like taking the walks. It's my favorite thing to do is just walk around New York. That's to me, that's the most fertile creative time and time for thinking is just walking around in nature, ideally, but I don't live in the middle of the woods yet.
You can go to a fabricated nature in Central Park.
Yeah. Or just walk around Morton and Leroy and all the tree-lined streets, the squiggly little streets down there. I like that too. The half question was really a full question, I have to say.
No, but the question is this. I mean, so if first I want to know who are the listeners.
Yeah.
And then you said that they're interested in improving or hearing other views on performance. Mm. So then what would you say to them from your, advice that comes from your experiences as a writer, as an improv comedy?
Well, the first thing would be perform.
Perform.
I would love to see some of these guys perform. I don't know that it's been tried that many times, but get up and be on a stage. It's so much different. There's so many things that you will learn, and vice versa. I mean, when I was acting in Chicago, I did a couple equity productions where I was acting in shows, and whether it was from the comedy, but I think it was more from the magic, just being so aware of the audience. You have to be aware of the audience. You mentioned that comedians are aware of the audience. Well, magicians, if they're any good, have to be aware of the audience.
Absolutely.
Because I got to tell you, man, you will almost never feel the amount and precision of control when you have that card in your hand and you haven't turned it around yet. I mean, you have everyone's attention. You control that moment to the millisecond, and you don't get that experience very often.
Yeah.
As a comedian, as an actor, people experience things at different times, whether they laugh in a different way, how they appreciate the humor or the drama. But with magic, you turn that card around and instantly everybody is feeling that same thing, and that's really you have to be extremely self-aware to know and control those moments in a savvy way. Mm-hmm. But get up on stage and perform. I don't know where. I mean, open mics or community theaters, or just even do some performing that's not magic related, but just get up in front of an audience I'd love to see somebody take some of this cardistry stuff and turn it in and see what happens if it becomes more theatrical. I think there's a lot of possibility for that.
I'm so with you. I think that art form is a young art form and has so much more room to grow into. You know, it's like they need to create a venue for that art form, the platform.
For sure.
It doesn't have the constraints of the magic, or really any art form. Yeah, it doesn't have its own self-maintained and built constraints.
Yeah, it's so aesthetic that to me it's got more possibility than magic. Because with magic, people need to hear you. For the most part, they need to hear you. They need to kind of be paying attention to the narrative or give you some sort of mental energy to know that something happened that couldn't possibly happen. Whereas with cardistry, like it's such an aesthetic exercise that it could be a part of something else. It can be ambient. It could be just beautiful for beauty's sake. I mean, my friend Ben in New York has taken photos of these guys, and it's very beautiful. It's like architectural almost. I mean,
absolutely.
There's a lot of really cool stuff going on, and one of the things that's so nice about it is that I mean, you can back me up on this. Like, there was a long time where there was almost no aesthetic awareness in magic. Just the packaging, just the catalogs, the props were just so gaudy and like way outmoded and really just hideous. And now there's a much more elevated sense of design. Some of this stuff is beautiful. Some of it's more beautiful than it is practical, or more beautiful than it is useful. But at least it's beautiful.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's really nice. But I would love to see more guys trying to gain more exposure for the art form to a lay audience. Sure. It feels a little insular right now. It feels like an insular moment in magic where a lot of magicians just make up magic tricks for other magicians to buy, and there's just not as much of a focus on performing, at least not from the real innovators. And that's probably a myopic point of view. I only see what I don't really go and seek out a lot of this stuff, and I'm in New York, and so I only know really what's going on around there. But some of the guys that are the most technically innovative are also the guys that probably have been seen by the fewest number of audience members. Yep. But as far as the writing goes, it's great, and I my biggest piece of advice to any performer is to write out your scripts. You'd be amazed.
So that's another thing that I've heard, on both sides of the spectrum. People who write their script word for word, and people who just write kind of bullets, like I'm going to go from A, B to C, an outline of the. So what are your thoughts on those two approaches?
I think that when you perform, the script can totally go out the window, but I think as an intellectual exercise, it's hugely beneficial to write every word. Every single word, because it forces you to really think about what you're saying and find an economy of language that you might, in bullets, you might say, okay, it's going to be this, this, and this is 3 things, and then you talk for 15 minutes. So...
And you might be redundant.
Right, you're repeating yourself, and you're unclear, and you're bloviating, whatever it is, but if you write it all out, whether you ever say it exactly that way, it helps you to clarify in your mind what information needs to be communicated, in what order, and when. And so that's really beneficial. And people say, I don't want to lose the spontaneity, or I don't want it to sound too robotic, or, well, that's acting. It's acting.
That's difficult.
It's very difficult. But like I said, you don't necessarily need to say exactly how you write it. Some people do, some people don't. But I think very few magicians, especially magicians, write scripts. And it's really helpful. It's really helpful because it's a totally different way of thinking about what you're doing. Looking at the words. Actually, David Ben gave me a really great piece of advice, which was when I was writing my club act, I was having trouble formatting the script. It's such a dumb writer problem to have. But I couldn't figure out how to write the script, but also include the secret shit, like the tricky stuff, in the script without breaking up the script. And he gave me a great piece of advice, which was that to format it like tech cues.
Yeah.
So my script, every moment in my show is scripted. Every single thing that I do, say, movements, everything. That's just how I like to work. Now, if you saw the show, and a lot of people that do see the show, they're like, what the hell went wrong? That didn't go. Like, how did you know what was going to happen? It feels, hopefully, it feels extemporaneous. Hopefully it feels like it's the first time I've said a lot of that stuff. But it's not at all. Even the mistakes, of course, are scripted. But the text script, just like you would have for lighting cues, if some of the listeners aren't familiar, in a text script for a theater show, the tech guy, like the lighting guy, let's say, he has on a piece of paper a line of dialogue that leads into the cue. Maybe it's like, turn on the spotlight. Let's make it simple. So when the guy says,
get your break.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's what I do, is I replace all the tech cues with my slights.
That's great.
Whether it's psychology or it's physical manipulation, all of that, it has the dialogue that leads into it or the action that leads into it, and then what has to happen that is under the surface. And it had a secondary benefit, which was really great, that I didn't realize, is that now I have this script that says everything that's going to happen in the show, along with the lighting cues and all that stuff, that I can use for rehearsal when I'm rehearsing with somebody that's not a magician. And none of the stuff is confusing to them or revealed that shouldn't be revealed. It's just everything you would see. Everything that you would see happening. And then I have this other document that's everything you don't see.
Mm-hmm. So here's something that I'm sure a lot of... I'm sorry for...
No. Commandeer it. Take it. Yeah, please.
But I'm just curious. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Here's something I can find a lot of people who will struggle with, me included. So, you can write your dialogue and this and this. What happens when you start communicating? Like, I need to get a speaker on stage and I'm going to ask them questions. I don't know what they're going to answer.
Right.
So how do you write that script?
Well, that's the fun discovery of magic. That's what's so wonderful about magic, is that you get to deal with real people. And those are when you get to have real moments of discovery. And when you're present in that moment, and somebody that I think is so great at this is Derek Hughes. When he gets somebody up there, he is listening to them, and he's there with them. They're not just a prop. They're not just taking that thing. He's listening to them, and he's ready to have a moment with this person.
Have a real conversation.
They are now a part of the show.
Yeah.
They're on stage just as much as you are. And people, magicians are notorious for belittling their spectators. These people that have volunteered, right? Mm-hmm. In some cases, not even volunteered. In some cases, they've been forced up there. They had no choice in the matter. And then you're going to get up there and make fun of them and tell them not to talk. It's like, well, what the hell?
I've seen that happen before.
Right? I mean, that happens all the time. And let them talk, man. Sometimes they say really funny stuff. Sometimes they'll say things that you're going to steal and then you say in the next show.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's okay to let them shine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you can do that, the audience will love it. If you have the confidence as a performer to let that audience member take the show for a moment or a few moments, as long as they're not destroying what you're trying to build, or totally distracting from it, or just being a jerk about it, why not? Every show is different, right? And that's one of the great things about magic, is you have this element of total chaos, which is the audience participation.
So how do you write it? So do you write,
I don't know.
Ask this question, you can write the question, and then you write improvise?
Well, I don't know, because, it depends how open-ended the question is, right? If you're asking the person, what's your deepest fear? Sure. It's hard to anticipate what they might say. But let's go back to the improv for a second. Why not pretend you're that person or a bunch of different people and give yourself a bunch of answers?
So what's your deepest fear?
So what's your deepest fear? Giant squid under the sea. I fear...
You do fear that?
I think about giant squid under the sea. There's no way to escape.
But you really fear that?
Yeah, because they've got the beaks, they've got the giant eyes, they've got horns, that claws on the tentacles. The tentacles, they sting you. I mean, every weapon an animal could have, they've got it.
That is true.
Plus you're deep under the sea, and it's dark. So yeah, that's pretty scary. Now, that's one answer you might get. Another one might be
What's
death.
What's your deepest fear?
Same.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Squids?
Isn't that crazy? Giant squids and tidal waves, and then together it's like a massive.
Whoa, like a tidal wave with a squid in it?
Yeah, it's like Sharknado.
Oh.
I don't know what's my biggest fear.
Really?
Cockroaches.
Really?
Yeah, I hate them. I see them, I move out. I pack.
Water bugs and cockroaches are
it's the same thing for me.
They're no good. I also don't like the silverfish.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
All the legs.
Yeah.
No, those are
You like them?
the long ones that they have many legs?
Yeah.
They're cute.
No.
Not in your bathroom.
No.
I don't mind them.
That's interesting.
I don't like insects. I
So
don't
what
like
is it
things I
about
can't
why
see.
a silverfish is okay but a cockroach is no
They're
good?
disgusting. I don't know why. I guess it's a trauma from childhood.
Huh. Because to me those things are pretty... What about spiders?
I love spiders.
You love spiders.
See, I love things with many legs.
So there's something about
That
and how about like a grasshopper or something like that?
They're beautiful too.
They're beautiful. So there's something in the cockroach shape or just
and texture and
the texture, the crunchy.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Like
it's
a beetle? Is it a beetle?
Like
roast you?
beetles.
You like beetles?
those
So
are
what if-
slow-moving creatures
Yeah.
generally.
Which one?
The ones that you like, and then
No, the cockroaches are fast.
Well,
that's
you
what
said
I'm
there's a-
saying.
you-
The cockroach is.
I guess I have more
quick-
control over them. That's a good.
Jittery
That's a
thing.
good.
So it's a control thing. You said there was something from your childhood.
Yeah, I remember as a kid when I saw them, I was so scared. Like my heart will race.
Interesting. That might be an association thing.
Really?
I mean,
Should I quit magic?
I think what you need to do, you need to quit magic, move to a mountaintop, shave your head, start pissing into a bucket.
So that's a script. That's what you're gonna write.
That's it, man. No, one of my favorite things is writing for magicians and like helping other magicians because now I'm not saying like call me up, I want to go direct a magic show, but some of my good friends that are amazingly great magicians, sitting down with them and working on their show is so satisfying because as a magician, it's there's a lot of responsibility on you creatively. You got to write the script. You got to be the performer. You got to be the producer. You got to be the tech director. You got to be the choreographer, the director of just like on top of yourself to rehearse, and the wardrobe designer. I mean, holy cow! You'd have like a team of 20 people to do that for any regular theatrical production. So, working with somebody as a magician or as an outsider working with a magician, it's refreshing because you don't get to do it that often, and most times it's a totally new experience for them, especially if they're doing some material they're pretty familiar with, so the technical part is kind of there, just taking creatively what's the stage picture, what's the narrative, what's the emotional journey for the audience. You can make huge leaps and strides just by having another brain on the problem. So that's been a lot of fun. And my friend Noah in New York is doing this great show.
Which I really want to go see.
It's so good. It's so
So
good.
just for the listeners, where is that show?
So that show is happening. It's an after-hour show in Tannen's Magic Shop that happens where he unlocks the store after hours is closed down. He brings
Which is
people
like
up.
7, 8.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it starts at 7.
Cool.
Or 8. I'm not sure. I should know that.
How long
But
is he doing the show? Because
He's
this won't
doing
go
every-
live until like next month.
He's doing it every Thursday.
Okay.
So he should still
It's
be
an
doing
ongoing
it.
show then.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, it really is great. It's a very unique experience. You're in this cool space because most people have never been in a magic shop before, let alone one that's in this sort of labyrinthine hallway
Sounds
above a
great.
sleepies. It's very cool. It's not the same vibe at all as Steve Cohen's show because that's a very opulent kind of fancy setting, but it's the same idea where the setting for the show really colors the show. And Noah's just a really wonderful close-up magician.
He's
Such
great.
like a warm personality. People really have been responding positively to the show, so that's good. I hope it grows and grows.
That's great.
Is that it?
You have to finish with a big bang.
Big Bang. Crap. Okay.
So it's your job.
Well, I have
It's your
notes.
job.
There are other things that I want.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really
that I'm
talked about
curious
the books.
Should we do
though.
And it was Emma Watson.
Watson. Okay. Emma
I have
Thompson
an
is like
idea
a
for Big Bang.
old English lady.
I have an idea
Yeah,
for,
you're right.
for
We'll
a
save it.
finish.
Elliott hasn't gotten to ask any questions yet.
No, ask. Sorry.
Well, I'm curious.
I'm gonna go.
You're gonna go.
Ask
Let's
your
say
big bang
we're
question, and then we'll answer it later.
No. My suggestion is that we're all gonna do an improv at the end for
Okay.
like 2 minutes on a subject or something, and
Okay, that's
you do
fine.
it.
Okay. I was interested in a little bit of your advertising career, and then I also want to talk about the children's books.
right.
And just kind of those creative outlets.
So advertising is a great way to earn a living, I think. It was a really interesting subject to study. It taught me a lot about business and marketing and you learn all sorts about different industries and things because you're assigned to work on them by different clients. And so from fast food to steel to healthcare to soft drinks and insurance and children's toys. I mean, it's just you just
Sure.
deep dive into these subjects and learn all sorts of crap that you never really knew about because you've got to convince people to buy them.
Yeah, of course.
But it is a great industry if you can cut it because you get to collaborate with a bunch of really smart people, a lot of talented people, and it's fast paced and it's challenging and it's always different. But a lot of people get burnt on it, and that's why I was glad to kind of be done with it before that happened to me because it can be extremely emotionally draining. You sometimes put in enormous amounts of work for not much result.
Yeah.
And you often work so tirelessly on something, become so passionate about it, and it becomes so all-encompassing that when the client inevitably screws it up, it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of become numb to that experience. And what happens to people that stay in it too long is they just become numb to everything. They become very jaded.
Sure.
And it's extremely frustrating. The other thing that sometimes happens is that they become convinced that they're a genius
Mm-hmm.
because they've made a television commercial or sold a multi-million-dollar ad campaign or something. And most of the time it's not that great. I'd say if you get one good thing done a year that you're proud of, that's pretty damn good. Pretty good hit percentage. Right before I left, I did a campaign for Audible, from concept to execution. It was called Stories That Surround You, and it was TV, print, radio, web, all these different sorts of things. And listening to these audiobooks transports you to this other place in time. And it was really fun to shoot, and it was really a satisfying campaign experience. But that was like at the peak of my powers. I was like a seasoned creative director. I had been in the industry for 10 years. Building up to that, you just get beat down from all sides, from the lawyers, from the clients, from the account executives, and you just sometimes you just feel like you're banging your head against the wall because you just can't get anything done.
Sure.
So that can be insanely frustrating. That's why it was so wonderful to discover this side outlet of children's books, because I had, in some ways, I had complete creative control.
Sure.
Collaborating with Dan Salmeri, who's my partner and my illustrator that I work with, but
Who's great.
He's great. He's a
Yeah.
wonderful dude. We've become extremely good friends, but it was a nice antidote to the advertising.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about the writing the books is it's a very isolated exercise. I sit in a room and I stare at a computer screen, or I stare at a notebook on a plane, and I'm writing stuff, and there's no feedback. And advertising is sort of the opposite of that, where you get to work with all these people that are very much experts at whatever it is they do, whether it's graphic design or typography or motion graphics or lighting design or cinematography. And that's really cool because you learn a lot from that, from all those different people, as long as you can check your ego and defer to them.
Sure.
Which is something some people have trouble with as well in advertising. But it's a great, I'd say it's a great field of study. It's a great place to go. You just have to be ready for how turbulent it is. It can be really rough, traveling a lot, and a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. But if you can kind of rise above it and just know that it's a job and not get too mentally taxed from it, it can be extremely exciting. Really can.
But you're glad that you're
I'm glad I'm out of it. Mostly because the freelance lifestyle is just so glorious. Nobody told me for 10 years. Like, why didn't you tell me, man? You should have told me.
You never asked.
I should have asked. You do whatever you want all the time.
For the most part, yeah.
It's great. I mean, it is really the American dream.
It's the world's dream. It's everybody's dream.
Wow. I can't tell you how lucky I feel. I just hope people keep buying books and that they keep liking the books that I write. Because it's so mentally nourishing. You want to go to a museum, you want to watch a 3-part documentary on the fall of the Byzantine Empire. You can do that, and that sort of stuff really fuels your creativity, really fuels your mind.
It's a great lifestyle.
Great lifestyle if you can do it.
How much time are you spending recreating for inspiration in that way, or over sitting down and doing work for?
I work in fits and spurts. I really do. I'm not the kind. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm starting on a much more intense and long-term project in the next 3 months. So ask me in the spring. but right now I don't need to be extremely regimented, because when I am feeling inspired on a project, I'll work on it for 18 hours straight. And when I'm not feeling inspired, I don't put that pressure on myself or beat myself up about taking a walk or going to a museum or going halfway across town to go get a turkey sandwich because I heard it's really good. So I think it's all about balance. But I'm way super new. I mean, it's only been 12 months for me, and a lot of that was spent on book tours, doing promotion, and a lot of that was kind of scheduled out travel and things like that. So I'm not really the guy to talk to you about how
Well, it sounds like it's just about allowing the process. Whatever.
I hope so. I mean, I'm starting on a much longer book soon, and I've never written anything as long as I'm planning to do. So it may have to be the sort of thing where I sit down when I first quit my job, I was like, okay, every morning I sit down and I work for 3 hours. And like I started doing that, and I would pretty productive, and then I was like, I don't need to do this. I just got to work whenever the hell I want to work. And it worked out. So far it's worked out. I don't know how it will continue to work out, but fingers crossed. I feel like I might as well enjoy it while it lasts, and if I have to go back into advertising or consulting, so be it. But for now, I'm trying to have a bunch of irons in the fire and kind of try to get a bunch of different revenue streams and support myself independently so I can keep living this sort of lifestyle, which I'm very much fond of. Yeah.
Okay. We've done about an hour and 20 minutes. I know that you were worried about it.
Well, I just don't. I mean, I apologize to anybody that's listened to this entire thing. If you haven't found anything substantive.
If you haven't found anything substantive, don't listen to any more of them because I don't.
Right. Elliott says, "Get the hell out of here."
Lining somewhere. If they did not get anything, there's a silver lining. So
yeah. Should I teach a trick?
They walked. They probably walked, which means they burned calories.
There you go.
That's true.
There you go.
Or what else they could have been doing? They could have been maybe doing the dishes. Maybe they finished the dishes.
Yeah.
Or they were at the DMV waiting.
Yeah, so they're going to feel some sort of...
Or give their spouse or girlfriend a break from them, from their,
Yeah.
Just
it has to be a silver lining there.
Yeah, no, it was fun. This was a fun thing to do. Is there anything you want to do, you want to ask before we wrap it up, or any other questions? Anything we didn't cover?
I'll take a look at the notes. I am thoroughly enjoyed that Asi joined us.
Yeah, that was nice.
And
I wish he would put some clothes on.
Well, you're in my room. What can I do? You're in my room. Of course I'm going to join.
You could have put pants on. That would have been nice.
Well,
you actually, you.
How do you get it into that sort of? How do you get the hair to be in that sort of shape? Is it like a straight razor?
You got to pull it really tight.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that hair. Okay.
Yeah.
Second, I thought you were talking about my eyebrows.
It spells out wind for all the listeners at home. You can't see it.
It looks like the back of his cards.
Yeah. Well.
That's how I got the inspiration.
Yeah, they're very good.
You covered everything in one way or another, and I found that sort of tends to happen. Is I'll jot down some notes and it just comes up naturally.
Any magician, you get them talking, they'll just keep going. I do want to plug something.
You're Jewish,
plug
right?
as much as you want.
Are you Jewish?
Of course.
So that's of course.
I mean, I'm not religious, but Rubin.
Rubin. Yeah.
I like garlic dill pickles. I like chopped
matzo
liver.
balls.
I like matzo balls. It's mostly a food thing for me.
Of course.
It's mostly a food thing.
For every Jew, it's food.
Yeah.
Every holiday is food.
Yeah.
Even Yom Kippur is food. You just
The
don't
lack
eat
of
it.
food, yeah.
No, but there's a big meal before and after.
Yeah. I actually like Passover. That's the only thing I really get into is Passover.
Really? What do you like about it?
It's like Jewish Thanksgiving. It's historical.
Without the turkey.
Without the turkey, right? It's not... or without the stuffing, you can still make the turkey.
That is true.
But I like it because it is a Thanksgiving. There is some historical basis there. There's a lot of persecution. It's just like, hey, isn't it nice that we get to kind of get together and have this dinner? So I like that. It's like a second Thanksgiving.
As opposed to the other option.
Yeah, there's a lot of other ones that are just like really steep. You got to believe a lot of stuff. You kind of got to do a lot of God stuff, and I'm not so... I don't, I'm not going to get into that. Forget it.
Can I tell you a thing that happened the other day?
Please.
I was in a bookstore with a friend of mine who's Jewish. And we're in like the art history section.
Yeah.
And there was a book that was totally out of place, and it's called The Story of the Jews. And I pointed to it, and I was like, "Look, there's a book about you." And he looks over and he goes, "Ha, The Story of the Jews." And the clerk, the person who works there, is standing in the aisle, and he turns to us and he goes, "It ends better than you think."
Nice.
It's what?
It ends better than you think.
It ends better than you think.
Wow.
That's great.
Is that considered anti-Semitism or
I
no?
don't think so. I think so.
Borderline,
It's considered amazing comic luck.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
That's
I don't think so.
funny.
So I do want to plug something. I am working on. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, I'll have a little shop up on my site with some puzzles.
Awesome.
Optical. Well, I don't know if they're optical illusions.
Well,
What
let's
the
talk
hell do
about
I
that a
call
little
them?
bit.
I don't know
They're
what to
called
call
Adam
them.
Rubin puzzles.
Yeah, I
They're
guess so.
awesome.
Are they impossible objects, or are
They're
they
sort of impossible objects.
I know how to sum it up.
How?
It's they're art pieces that are also puzzles because there's something beautiful about them. Like your can I say cigarette and ashtray?
Sure. It's going to be cigars when it comes out.
It's going to be cigars and ashtrays. So it's just as an object to have on your coffee table, it's a beautiful object Because most puzzles are like cubes, correct?
Sure.
But yours has some aesthetics.
Well, I try to make them look like things.
Yes.
Real world.
Or
Yes.
have some sort of function.
So
Like
the real object, I like them.
I don't
Think
know
of
what
a-
the hell to call them. I'm going to think about it more. I also don't have a good name for that puzzle. That
You
cigar.
don't?
I don't have a good name for that cigar puzzle. But
Stop smoking?
stop smoking. Well, I had smoking kills for the cigarette one.
Oh, okay.
Because they diminish, but it actually turns out it's more impressive when the cigars appear than when they disappear.
Oh.
I've learned that from
So
performing. it.
smoke more.
Yeah, smoke more. That's what you call it.
You should smoke more.
Smoke more.
Smoke.
But I have really taken a great joy in looking at these old optical principles or geometric redistribution puzzles and trying to make them into something functional or something that
Seems commonplace, maybe.
yeah, like an ashtray or a paperweight or a salt shaker or a bottle opener.
That's glorious.
And really trying to challenge myself with making these things, as Asi said and so flatteringly said, like art pieces, really stuff that you might find in the MoMA store. And it's hard because my design skills are not excellent,
Sure.
and my 3D design skills are even less so.
Even less so, yeah.
So between all of the objects will be made in New York, fully manufactured and handcrafted in New York. And the challenge is that 3D printing is still in its infancy, that there are a lot of technical challenges that
Sure.
even beyond what you see in the computer, what then comes back from the factory is not exactly, whether it's the friction or the texture
Yeah.
or the structural integrity. And so there's just a
beacons
lot
do
of
things.
challenges. And so it's been a fun process. It's been like this mad science project where I've got all these weird boxes and crazy crap laying, trying to figure out these materials and stuff. So it has been a lot of fun, but I'm hoping that when you do eventually get something from the shop, it will be indistinguishable from something you might buy at like a nice design store.
Okay.
Except it does something totally unexpected. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
a lot for agreeing to sit
Yeah,
down
my
and talk
pleasure.
for a long time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks
Asi,
to
thank you
thanks
for
to our
contributing.
mystery host here.
You just invaded my room. What could I do?
Yeah, that's right. We are in Asi's house at the moment. He did not expect us to drop by.
Do
Hence him
we
being
tell
naked.
people where we are?
We're at Magi Fest in Columbus, Ohio. We're in Asi's suite. He was kind enough to allow us to.
So
barge
sweet
in.
of you.
Of course. That was comedy, ladies and gentlemen. Just in case you missed it. If we got confused, that was comedy.
I've been
Improvised
sitting
right
on
here
that
in
one.
my suite.
I've got a whole page. I've got pages of notes here of jokes that I didn't get to use.
That was my food.
Well, thanks so much for having me on.
What if you
Elliott.
have an idea? What would make it the never-ending podcast?
We just take it
gonna
with
keep
us to the show.
We'll keep this mic
We can just take it
open.
with us to the
Yeah.
Jeff McBride lecture. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Asi's show tomorrow.
Oh, I have a show tomorrow.
You
Yeah.
have a show tomorrow. I'm very
I
excited.
have no idea what I'm gonna do.
Well, maybe if you script it out in advance.
I'm
you'd
gonna
have a better
improvise the
idea.
whole. It's gonna be jazz.
Oh, perfect!
I'm
Perfect.
going to discover things for the
Great.
first time.
We'll see some jizz magic right on stage.
Yes, yes, of course.
All right. Well, thanks, Elliott. I appreciate it. I hope that your listeners enjoy your podcast and that there's
How
a
long
lot
has it
of,
been now?
An hour 25.
Wow.
No, we have to go to 30.
So-
Let's go 1:30.
An
It
hour
has to,
30?
yeah, at 1:30 we're going to shut. No matter what, we're in the middle.
I thought I was
sentence.
out and they pulled me back.
Oh,
in.
we're 5
Somebody's going to be
minutes.
like chopping onions like, please end this thing.
If you're listening, I suggest you turn it off. But we're going to go 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll improvise.
How about I go to the bathroom, you guys talk about me for 90 seconds.
I didn't. 1 second.
You didn't flush?
No, because I didn't want to.
Oh, right, okay. Well, if it's yellow, let it mellow, right? That's how...
Since we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
care now, because it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys discuss.
So we're going to improvise.
Go ahead.
Elliott, you start.
Oh, God.
Have you ever done something like that?
No, I
we're
haven't. I would love
we're
to
not,
take a
We're
class
not
or
going to
something.
bore you to death on purpose. So if
Just accidentally.
you just seriously go do something better. Here's think about what you're missing out. You could be playing PlayStation,
Yeah.
read a good book.
Talking to your partner.
Yeah.
Communicating.
But instead, you're listening to this. If you're still listening, if you're not, you're smart. But if you're listening to this, you're wasting your time.
Maybe your life. I don't know.
Like, who are we to tell you anything, what to do? Or, like, what do we know? Seriously.
That's true.
Go live life, experience, come up with your own conclusions, make your own podcast,
See, I think what you just said though nullifies your previous question,
Which was what?
which was what do we know? And then you said go live your life, make your own conclusions. That in and of itself is an
Knowledge.
enormous
Yeah, but
enlightenment.
come on. This is
kind of
like,
thing.
it's 2 cents. We're just telling the viewers that if they're listening right now,
Yeah.
they're basically losers. They should just go home.
You should tell them that the
I mean,
viewers,
don't go-
if they're listening right now, that they're looking at the wrong. Like they're
Yes.
consuming the podcast.
How much time do we
They
have?
should be listening.
3 minutes, 2 minutes.
We have 2 more
2.5
minutes of complete boredom and nonsense. You should
Complete-
not be listening to this.
Yeah, don't listen. I
If
had an
you-
idea while I
tell
was
her-
going to the bathroom.
Okay, what's that?
Has anybody tried to film cardistry with like one of those fiber optic cameras? You know, like the ones they stick in your nose and stuff. Just 'cause-
Oh!
You know how people always describe flourishes as architectural,
Uh-huh.
right? This is a very architectural flourish. It would be cool if you could
Get
simulate that
inside it?
scale,
Yeah.
like make it feel grandiose by having the perspective be really minuscule, right? Like what would
That's
it look
cool.
like to be inside the flourishes?
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
By the way,
I
that leads me to this idea. I'm going to show you a new cardistry routine I'm working on, but I can't do a YouTube, so
Just
we'll
by
do it on
sound.
podcast.
Yeah. I didn't know you could
No, but
anti-ferro.
act amazed. Act amazed.
Activate. That's
Very-
pretty. Wow.
That is gonna hurt.
If you're
Now we're
slowing-
actively punishing the
how much
people
time do we
listening.
have to gibberish? How much time?
A minute and a half.
A minute and a half of nonsense. So
Nonsense.
Well, okay, so if we wanted to learn improvisation,
Yeah.
read Napier's book,
Yeah.
Improvise,
Yeah, yeah.
and his new one on Amazon. Where else could we go? Should we take classes? What
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
you can
stuff should
take
we
classes.
study?
I mean, it's hard to find people that know what they're talking about.
Mhm.
I think it's like magic. It's
Sure. You
or
kind of
there's-
have to
there's
feel
a-
around
You know,
until
there's that really jaded Sturgeon's law says 99% of everything is crap, right?
Yep.
The more you know about it, the
Mhm.
more you realize that most things are crap. Like if I was an expert on curtains or interior design, I would
Which you
probably
are.
be appalled.
Yeah.
I mean, don't out me on the
okay.
podcast.
No, but you know a lot
I know a
about
lot
curtains.
about curtains. I do know a lot about curtains. Bad example. If I knew a lot about coffee, for example.
And you do.
I do.
What you
I
do.
really do
What
know
you
a lot
do.
about
What you do.
coffee.
You're so
I'm
knowledgeable about so many
well-rounded.
things.
Gosh.
What about plugs?
I have such a
Are you-
depth of knowledge. That's
You
the thing.
are. What about plugs?
Like a deep hole of knowledge. But the point is that if you know a lot about something, you look at the majority of that thing and think
Mhm.
it's not so good.
Sure.
And so with improv, I think you have to be careful because sometimes any acting class, like you're really vulnerable in an acting class.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
really
For sure.
putting yourself in the hands of some supposed expert. And so you should, as much as possible, get to see that person perform
Yeah.
or know their pedigree before you trust them to teach you for 8 weeks or whatever.
That
So
makes
they're not
total
just being skeevy and like trying to get young girls' phone numbers or have some sort of weird ego trip in the middle of Omaha.
Which
or
is fine
something.
too, correct?
Well, it's fine if you're on that. If that's your plan, just as long as you go in knowing what's
Exactly.
what the deal
How
is.
much time do we have?
I want to give my phone number to people.
What time is it?
Yeah.
Just hold on. We're in the middle of it.
Ah,
Just
sorry.
go.
It's trying to figure out how to meet young women, okay? We're on
Yeah,
to something
so,
now.
Yeah. So okay. So I
How
have to
young?
pretend to know a lot about improv. 12.
Pretend to know about a lot about anything.
So,
I think
yeah,
that works in
okay.
general. Coffee, curtains, whatever
Coffee
you want
curtains,
to do. Yeah.
things that we both enjoy. What? Okay, so are there other books that people should read so they can
So
kind of
there,
get an idea?
yeah, for sure.
Things
You know,
like
Improvises it.
I think I think mixed books are great.
Mhm.
There are other books that other people have written that are famous on the subject. I don't think for me, they weren't as helpful. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
For me, when I was learning, improvise was extremely helpful,
Mm-hmm.
and then just doing it was really helpful. But there are a couple other books. There's something wonderful right away. There's shit, I'm forgetting the name of Sharna's book. What is Sharna's book called?
Make it up.
No, what is it called?
You're
Improvise.
betraying your craft.
Truth and Comedy. Sorry, Truth and Comedy.
Okay.
Truth and Comedy, and there's the UCB textbook. The UCB one is like super analytical. It's like do this, then do that. It's very
It's like the
Instructional?
bones of
Like instructional?
extremely rigid to some extent. I don't want to talk shit, but it's a different approach.
So
for
don't
sure.
read that.
You can read it. I mean, look, it's just like magic,
have
right?
different-
Read a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
I read Derek Dingle's book, and I was like, I learned, I guess, from it. I hated it.
Why?
I just hate when Kaufman doesn't describe the effect before the method. It's really hard for me to visualize the trick, because I don't know where it's going. I'm just like following this thing, and then in some cases it's extremely
That goes
dense
with your ADD.
and complicated. But the thing about elephants that I like is that they have fingers. They're just all fused together in those stumps. But there are 5 of them if you count. There's 5.
That is true.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Is it a flaw in creation? Okay, never mind. Like wisdom teeth, you know? You have them, you don't need
If anybody knows about dry rot, please call in.
I'm suffering
You're
from...
going to be in great pain.
Do you have
by the
a dry
time
socket?
this goes.
Huh?
Do you have a dry socket? Is that what the
No, I don't
I'd
know
like
what
to
it
once
is.
again apologize to the listeners.
You should not be listening, by the way. Just
Yeah, you
that's the
should
best
not be
advice we
listening.
can give you right now.
Yeah.
How much time have we gone? Seriously.
1:32.
Oh, it's definitely time.
Let's do another hour.
1 hour.
I think
Yeah.
we could do it.
We could.
We just got into the groove.
Well, now
I
we
feel
need to
like.
just start
Let's
interviewing
see.
Elliott.
Who's next, by the way? What time is it? What's happening right now?
It's 7:30 right now. So Young Magicians event. in
Just
Clarksburg.
ended, and Levant one-man show starting at 8. So
At
we have
8.
time. We have time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about nothing.
Well, no, I need to get. I have Adam Elbaum's keys to his car, and I need
Sure.
to get them to him.
Call him.
Should I call him?
Put him on speaker.
All right.
Or he could come up and he could be the.
We talk
fourth
about
person.
improvise, no? So call him.
All right, I'm going to call Adam.
Don't tell him that we're on podcast. So
Don't tell him we're on a podcast.
Yeah, 'cause-
I
Yeah,
should.
yeah.
He might say something.
No, that would
No,
be
it would-
that
it would
what
be
makes
great.
it that what makes it interesting,
That
you know.
would be perfect. Yeah, we'll be quiet.
Speaker.
Oh, you guys don't want him to know you're here?
No,
No, it's okay.
Good lord.
We can know we're here. That's fine.
if it comes up next.
Yo, I'm up in Asi's room. You're on speakerphone, by the way. So anyway, I'm up in Asi's room with Elliott and Asi, and you're on speakerphone.
Okay.
So I have your keys. What are you up to? How was the Garrett
I guess
lecture?
it was great. I only got through one. It's unfortunately I'm very verbose and go on and on, but it went really well. They loved it. I got to do more tomorrow, but I just grabbed a burger real quick so I can eat something. I'm heading back to the room to drop off stuff, and then I wouldn't mind. Did you ever go out? Did you get a bottle or anything?
Oh, I forgot. Asi and I went to get food. He liked the restaurant we went to so much he brought back a second meal to eat later.
I did. Adam, I want my gimmick. Where's my gimmick? Of your beautiful trick. By the way, just so you know, there's at least thousands of people listening to you right now. Just so you know, you're live.
Well, Asi, you just called Adam's trick beautiful, right?
It is beautiful.
Tell us what you think of it.
What do I think of it?
Yeah, we're talking about awestruck. That
I
Adam
think
Elbaum.
it's a brilliant trick, and I want to own one.
Were you using this for the advertisement, you know?
It's what?
Well,
We're using this quote for the advertisement, that's why I was asking.
good.
Sure, of course.
You can definitely quote him on
But
it. There'll be a
why don't you
source.
come to my room and bring the toy with you, and we'll talk about it, because we're trying to break the world record of podcasts.
It's 8:41.
Yeah, we've been doing it for 3 hours now. We're trying to go for longer, and we're encouraging people to not listen to this.
To just turn off
Yeah.
the podcast.
And if they're listening to this, they're fanatics
8:41.
of magic.
There's a lot. Elliott's got a lot of rabid fans that will. I mean, like now it's just a test of endurance where they can't turn it off.
It's like a
'cause they
David,
just
it's
wanna
like a
make it
David
through.
Blaine experience.
And they'll know.
And the thing is, Elliott has added time to the audio file, so you don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you think that it's going to end at a certain point, but that some of it's just silence.
He
when
started
you make
erasing stuff on his computer, so there's more memory. It's,
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
bad.
It's
Like all of his porn, he
It's
erased
the
all of
most
his porn.
active
What's that?
gigs and gigs. It's been.
All right, we'll see you soon. 8:41.
8:41, bring the toys.
Okay.
So we have to stay here until it comes.
Jesus Christ. I would think that would be great is if.
Should I eat my food now?
Yeah, you should eat.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
You know what would be great is if you just added a bunch of time, just like blank white noise
Yeah,
onto
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of this,
Onto
so
the
it looks
end.
like it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
No, we can talk. We can gibberish.
But I
For
mean,
4 hours.
that way, because
People really
the thing
don't
is,
know.
right now
Yeah.
it feels interminable because we genuinely don't know when it's going to end. But for the listener,
Discovery.
But that's the improv aspect of it, correct?
Right, but I'm saying we are robbing the listener of that uncertainty because they can see the timeline of the podcast. They see when it's going to end. Whereas if Elliott were to randomly add a
That's
bunch of
a
white
good
noise,
idea.
then they really don't know when it's
Yeah,
going to
I'm
end.
That's a
gonna,
good
I'm gonna
idea.
do that.
It could be 6 hours long.
That's a great idea.
And then they
See,
don't
that's
know.
that's a copywriter. That's you see, that's how
Yeah.
somebody like him
Hey,
thinks.
there you go.
I'm gonna do that definitely.
He's thinking about the packaging, and it's not just thinking about the content.
Speaking of which,
The
I'd like to
experience.
show the listeners my new business card.
Oh
please.
wow! By the way, I want to say something about your business card. I am so envious. Let me show.
Well,
I'll show-
I need to show it to the
Do this.
audience. Okay, there it is.
It's beautiful.
That's so cool.
But if I may say something, it's the most beautiful card I've ever seen, and
Wow.
I'm envious of it. And I asked Adam Rubin if I can make
This
my
is
card like
amazing.
his.
And what did I say?
He said absolutely not.
I said absolutely not. Well, you know what? Because I'm not going to talk shit here, but I am.
But you are.
But I
Please
am.
do.
Because one of my favorite business cards, and you guys know he's a close friend of mine, and RoboSauce is dedicated to him, is Mark Ducati.
Of course.
Really
Yeah,
brilliant
that's a
guy.
great business.
Great business
that's
card.
a
And I'll
great
describe
business-
it for you. If you haven't seen
No,
it.
don't do. But then people
Don't-
rip it off. No.
No, they won't. Where are they going to source all the Mylar? It's a pain in the ass to make that thing.
Okay.
It's a high gloss black card. It's a deep black. It's shiny, and on both sides, it's just this deep midnight black. And then you realize it's a tent fold, so it kind of opens up in the middle. And when you open it up on the inside, there's a reflective Mylar panel on one side of
mirror.
the interior, like a mirror. And then on the other side is Mark's business card information printed in red and white backwards on the other side. So you have to kind of angle like a V. You have to look inside the fold of the card and angle it so that you can read the reflection of the writing in the reflective surface of the Mylar. And it's just a beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
Mark's a toy inventor. A lot of his work incorporates reflection and mirrors, and so it's just like the most wonderful card.
It is a great card.
However, the other day I was at the Met. Ricky Jay gave his talk about the Matthew Bulkinger exhibit, which is really wonderful.
I hear
If you
it's
haven't
amazing.
seen it, it's probably going to be over by the time this airs, but it's great. This micrography. It's about this guy who didn't have hands or feet, and he would do these really elaborate drawings, so elaborate that like in the curlicues of hair would be Bible verses, and you have to use. They have magnifying glasses at the Met, so you can fully appreciate the drawings. It's really astounding. I mean, even with somebody that has fingers, I don't know how the hell they would do it, and this guy had no hands. So he gave a presentation about it, highly entertaining. Ricky Jay, a great raconteur, really wonderful. At the presentation was a lot of different magic people, as well as like 800 Met subscribers that just go to all the different speaker series. But I ran into Roger Dreyer at the talk, and I used to work for Roger. Like back in the day, I did their Legends of Magic series. Like when I was still in school, I like wrote, directed it, worked with Simon Lovell, who refused to work off of a script, even though it was the instructional videotape, and edited the whole thing. And it was a great way to cut my teeth, and it really was a good project. And Mark hooked me up with the job. But the point is, Roger's card is everything. Is Mark's card, but he's ruined it.
Oh,
And
why is that?
Why is that? Because, so first of all, on the front, rather than a deep, mysterious, high gloss black, is a giant logo for his business. Okay, full color,
To no mystery.
right? You open it up, there's the exact same typography. There's a really, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. There's
Nobody will listen to it anyway.
That's true. The
People-
cross-
we lost-
the Venn diagram-
If we have one listener right
That's
now, I'd
true.
be shocked.
Yeah, they're gonna be so mad at us. They're gonna take it upon
Somebody's here.
themselves to email this guy to tell him. But there's like this silly inflated title
Yep.
in his business card, and then on the back is all the information right side up, like regular image,
Yeah.
So there's-
for you from the vendor.
which is like
point of
ruins
it?
the point
Yeah.
of it. Just totally
Hold on, he was
destroys it.
bad mouthing here, so continue.
So our good friend Adam Elbaum, inventor of Awestruck, has just walked in. We're in hour 5 of the podcast.
Yeah.
We basically, it's become an endurance test at this point.
Yeah.
It is. We're going to do it. By the way, I want to say something.
Asi needs to shower.
He
seriously.
he showed me this trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the gimmick and everything. How many years ago?
The first time, it was earlier incarnations, years ago. I don't even know.
5, 6 years?
Maybe.
So here's an amazing thing,
least.
correct? It doesn't happen much today. How long have you been working on that trick?
10, 15 years.
10 to 15 years.
That's crazy.
So whoever buys it is buying a product that's been thought of for 15 years with evolution, and I've seen many stages of it. So it wasn't just, an idea that he has, and now he's publishing it. And that's how every trick should be, no? It should be something that you really...
Well, that's how you do it.
I try.
And I can't believe it sometimes.
I
that
don't
he
believe
puts-
the other, yeah.
This guy comes up to him today. I saw this. I was there when this happened. This guy comes up to him and he's like, Asi Wind, I love your material. I do double exposure at my kids' gigs all the time, or like whatever he says, like I do at Denny's or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, I hope this guy is doing it justice, right?
That's the best magic those kids have ever seen.
I mean, it just, but there is. I respect the fact that you want to put it out there, but maybe you could talk about why. A lot of people you look at some of the guys you hang around with; they're extremely protective of their material.
I think it's a mistake.
Okay, go ahead.
I tell you why. I think sharing only is going to help us. So, for example, if there's people are going to do bad magic regardless of what you put out or not, correct? That's not going to stop them from doing any other trick badly.
Sure.
But if you put in well thought routines, and that could, even if they don't do it, if that could inspire them, say, wow, I see the sophistication about this, how it's structured and all that. There's only upside to it. They might do the trick very well, by the way. They might, it might push other tricks that they do, to think about it more.
Okay.
I think the more we share, the better chance we have of people performing good magic out there.
I buy that completely.
But if we keep guarding material and people do sponge bowls really badly,
Right.
that's just as bad as doing any other trick badly.
So let me take the other side of the argument for a second.
Sure.
You show up to a corporate gig,
Yeah.
big high-paying thing. It's like a executive retreat, let's say, on a yacht.
Yeah.
And you're going to close your set, or you're going to open your set, and you do Catch-23. And one of the guys in the audience goes, "Oh, my kid does that."
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think that's a paranoid
It
thing.
doesn't happen. You know what? I tell you a story. I have a client who's now a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of shows for him. He pays me well. He treats me fair. And one time I go to a gig that he hired me to do, and he says, I just bought double exposure. So he bought a trick. I don't know, $12.
Yeah.
Correct?
Is that all it is?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I know. I think it's worth more, not because I want to
Yeah,
make
it's
more
worth
money,
more.
but because I think
$12.
I put
That's
a
like
lot
a
of work
value
into it.
meal.
I know.
For
I know.
the camera with the thing. That's a
Yeah.
good trick.
So here's the thing. It's a client, not a magician, and he said to me, "I watched the clip, and I appreciate you even more." Because he saw how difficult it is. He says, "I knew I have no chance of doing it."
But that's an enlightened audience member.
No, but I think what he does, it makes him. I'm not afraid of exposure, by the way. I'm not
Okay.
afraid that if people know it, there's a secret. But if somebody went through the trouble of finding a trick, downloading, learning it, and he realizes that there's a lot of work going into it, it's actually not bad.
What about the opposite? If it happens to be a trick that is such a super effect, but then they go online and find out it was just it was a very simple method, and it sort of takes this miracle down to a.
I don't know a single trick, to be honest, that doesn't require a great deal of work.
Well,
I don't know
if you know
can,
the method, it might not realize how much work.
But even the invisible deck, which is super easy, requires a great skill of showmanship and routining it. If that's all you do, say, "Here, I have a deck of cards, one is reversed, name a card, here it is." I don't think that's good enough. Like, not for me, at least.
That's interesting. It's refreshing to hear that, because a lot of the guys who I would say are the sort of the backroom guys, which is different than the backdoor guys, they...
How so?
They just enter different doors.
It's just it's an odor thing, I think. It's mostly a smell.
I'm going to eat
just
if
how
you don't
much
mind.
cleanup is required. And
Don't have to put down a towel first. Go ahead.
And I even, well, I'll admit to the paranoia myself, like, I don't even like performing on shows with other magicians because I don't want them to take my shit, because unlike most other art forms, it's completely okay. I don't know any other craft or art form, performing art, where you can just buy somebody else's material and do it verbatim.
It's true, but if you're choosing that route, then you're missing out. I mean, I always say, in every DVD, I say, here's a trick, go and try to make it your own. And that includes patter, presentation,
But how many
maybe
people do?
handling.
But how many people do?
Yeah, what difference does it make?
But that's not my
It's their
problem.
path.
I mean, you can only suggest it, then it's up to whoever.
I guess it's different too, because you are saying, here it is, fully formed. I'm going to take you through every step so that make sure that you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys, they're paranoid because they don't want somebody to just lift it and do it wrong, or not do it justice. But do you think it would be better for magic if every great working pro published all their material?
No, I think, okay. For example, I don't publish everything I've ever done,
Right.
and I only publish things that I think are, I worked on them for many years, just like Adam. Sorry, I'm choking on my food, but first I worked on it for a
How
long time.
old are those clams, by the way?
And
How old is that food you're eating?
A few hours.
Okay.
We bought it together.
There's a toenail in there, I think.
It's okay. It's tasty. It's protein. It's protein. But anyway, so criteria number 1, 15 years or so of working on a trick, and B, if I contributed enough to call it my own. So in other words, if it's just a variation on a trick,
yeah,
and I'm doing it, of course, that's fine. But I'm not going to publish it because I did not add enough to it in order to say this is my trick.
Right.
So if I can have ownership on the trick, I will not publish it.
So it's about so that's so interesting because recently there's been a lot of hubbub about people lifting other people's material.
Where?
I mean, all over the place.
I know.
With your buddy as well, and some other people in weddings and all sorts of stuff, right?
All over the place.
All over the place, where people get mad about, well, I did it with one finger here, or I did it with this thing, where that thing went on your shoulder, and that thing went on the floor, and the other thing went in the air. And people get really mad, and I can relate to that because it takes so much effort to get this stuff right, and yet you're there going, here's 15 years of my life or whatever for $25, and you don't, and you seem very at peace with that. What's the difference psychologically?
Less ego.
No,
is it an ego thing?
I think it is an ego thing for most of magicians. In my experience, it's their ego. They're so wrapped up in this trick, and if someone else can do it, then they have my magical powers. I'm no longer so special, I think.
Is it a permission thing?
What difference
do you relieve yourself of that anger by offering it freely?
I can say in my case, the only reason I didn't release it. I'm not doing it for monetary gain. I just wanted a couple gimmicks made, and unless I released it, it would cost me a bunch of money. So by releasing it, I had the
very practical reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise.
Also, Adam loves money. So
I do love money, but there's better ways to make money than to.
That is true.
You anti-Semite.
It's true.
Really?
How could I be? No, but by the way, it's true. The amount of effort you put into a trick and the amount of money you make off of it. I mean,
there's better ways.
There's no proportions. I mean,
there's much better ways to make.
I mean, even performing in lectures, in conventions and stuff, is really every time I do it, I'm giving up opportunities to do real gigs.
Yeah.
Which pay better, but I love doing them. I really do.
Because you get to hang out with your friends.
We're doing this stuff that nobody's listening to.
Right. Stop listening, by the way. If you are still listening to
this. If you're still listening, please get off.
If you're still listening to this, we will give you a free
T-shirt,
yeah.
We don't have it yet, but we'll work.
The coupon code for Dan and Dave is Asi won't stop talking.
Let me write this down so we can actually make this happen.
Enter that into your shopping cart and you'll get a free promotional item. Asi will not stop talking.
You can also visit
and I'm eating at the same time.
Stop talking.
I'm eating at the same
time. Dude, we're buying it. We are buying it. Would just be a gif of you just eating your Buddha bowl.
That was funny.
And this is just played on repeat forever.
Yeah.
Stay on long enough so you can hear it come out the other end. Take it into the bathroom with you.
Yeah. We already had 2 bathroom breaks.
Show us a trick. Show the listeners a trick.
Yeah, will you show it?
Show it to us.
Will you demo the trick?
I know, who cares?
No. I showed my business card earlier. I mean,
yeah, which is really...
And I did a routine.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I showed you this a little bit, but now it's been actually developed.
I'll move this.
Oh, gosh.
What are we showing? I'm showing a card trick to
us. Ignore that.
It's the theater of the mind.
Nobody's listening.
You should show the podcast.
They used to describe paintings on the radio.
Can I show a move or you?
Oh yeah, do the download. This is cool.
I think I'm pretty happy with this.
Yeah.
I showed you an earlier phase of this, but actually in the process of knowing that I was going to film it, I started working it and totally revolutionized it so much better because I was working so long.
It happens a lot.
There's another reason for it. So we talked about the reverse cull. So now, it used to be like this, where it's just going through, but you can technically still see it come out. It's better to spread from the bottom was the idea.
Yes.
But now check this out. Watch this. Look how good this looks. So you can see the face down card. There's only one. No others. And it's done or whatever. Because now you can hit it to the edge. Let me do it better.
So what are you doing?
I'm like trying to do it out here.
Just do it for
us. We just lost another 20 listeners. But go on.
It's like Matt Fox and some shut-in in Norway at this point.
What are they doing?
So here it is.
His name's Earl.
Yeah.
Spelled J-A-R-L-E.
His only friend is a moose.
What are you waiting for the last minute? Is that what you're doing?
Here it is. So it's here. Well, the first.
By the way, Adam is doing a cool call.
Yeah, reverse
really
call.
nice.
This is call from the bottom instead of from the top.
So it's
going here. So when the card comes, I tag this, so it still hits the edge, and then after the.
So you
spread
basically
covers
say, you wait, basically.
if the big thing about it is the arc. So because the arc now can actually hit the edge, because you can't do it this way, because then you can't get your finger. Otherwise, you have to do a big break.
But can you do a bunch of cards like that?
You can do one card. It just replaces half.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
but if you have like a sandwich routine, you can pull a card out of the middle of them. It's
awesome.
invisible.
That's weird.
Will you do the anti-pharaoh for the microphone?
Sure. You can do a one-handed pharaoh for the microphone.
That is the strangest get ready for that.
Damn.
It was. I had to try to figure out how to do it.
Have you done so far? Nothing? Or is it first time?
How many podcasts?
This will be
have
the
you done?
first and the last in this series.
I've
of podcasts.
done, I think, 9.
9?
Yeah.
And you had people listen to it?
No, he hasn't
No,
watched
they
yet.
haven't launched
Oh,
yet.
they didn't. Oh.
This will be in the can for a while.
Wow.
This will be in the can forever, hopefully.
I'd be
Should
very
come out
curious
with
to
it.
know. Would you be able to know, like, at this point, how many people listen to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will know every second.
They have some great metrics on that site.
Oh, really?
I think I know
by
what
the
this
way,
meant.
I'll be able to tell you what country they're
Do
from.
you use analytics on your website?
No,
You don't.
I don't.
That is a huge mistake.
It's not.
It is.
It's just, if you're looking for work, it's a mistake.
No, it's if you're looking for information, it's a mistake. Because you would be able to see,
You could be huge in Korea right now. You don't
you
even
would be
know
able to
it.
see not only where people are looking at your site from, but
Mm-hmm.
when. What parts they engage, which parts of the site they engage with most.
But that I don't want to improve my website. I'm trying to.
It doesn't have to be improved. I can give you a block of code that you can put into your HTML today, and in a week you'll have some really interesting data on who's looking at your site, when they look at your site. You know, you do a big gig and you get a big spike in your visits. You know, that's a good client to have, or that you might be expecting some business soon, or you know.
But that requires more work.
Not really. There's a dashboard that they've got set
The
up.
larger point is it's better to put the code on, so at a later date, if you want to go back, if for whatever
Right.
reason, maybe right now you don't care about it, but maybe
Maybe
3
that's
years
it.
from now you're like, well, let's see how the site has progressed.
It only records the activity.
Yeah.
You
That's
can
cool.
even have where they clicked on the thing.
So-
Which parts of the site, all that stuff.
How many people do you think are listening right now?
I'm going to guess. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to make an educated guess because I don't know where Elliott's going to promote this stuff. I don't know where it's going to be
It's
posted.
Ted and Dave. I mean, there are some followers. You know, people follow their
But
stuff.
come on, who's got this attention span, right? This is
Not
the,
you.
This is the Instagram generation. I can't. I mean, any longer than 15
So what do you think?
seconds.
It's not nobody? Is it nothing, zero right
No,
now?
somebody. There's like that one kid that just
Who's
can't
brave.
give it up. You know, like he's really
really brave.
At this point, he's just determined.
Well,
he's like that guy that runs all the marathons with his son in the wheelchair. You know, like there's what do you got to prove at this point?
But there's a big
You know
difference
what I'm talking
between
about?
having it on in the background and listening.
True.
Right? So someone could just be playing it while they're doing work, and that doesn't mean they're actually listening to it.
Can you do that? Are you able to do that? I was saying earlier, I can't do that at all. I can't work while I'm
Oh, I
listening
can.
to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I can't work there.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
If you are listening right now,
Yeah.
guys out there,
Click the hotspot on
take a
Asi's website.
photo. Take a photo of your screenshot and put it on Facebook and tag our names.
Yeah.
This way we'll know. But we need to see the timeline. Like,
Yeah. Or tweet it at us.
at whatever point you said that's it, I can't go anymore with this. You take a snapshot of
Yeah.
the screen.
And Asi will personally congratulate you on Twitter and Facebook
And on AsiWillNotStopTalking.org.
for making.
And
Yeah.
eating it at the same time.
We will post all of these photos at asiwillnotstoptalking.org. And
There will be a dedicated Instagram account.
yeah, that will be really nice. You're gonna get some really nice freebies from Dan and Dave. What's the cheapest thing they sell on Dan and Dave's website?
I don't know the answer to
They
that
have a lot of
question.
free stuff.
They do?
They have some free downloads.
Well, that's no fun.
Then they were amazing though.
They're
I
great.
gotta say, I've never worked with any company as far as downloads and all that. It's been an amazing experience. It's the easiest thing in life to work with. They're so chilled. They're so laid back.
Yeah.
They're arguably the most influential people I know personally.
Really?
Like,
In what way?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, they really created a whole movement of cardistry and all of that. I mean, that's really influential.
Well, I don't know if they created
They
it.
pushed
No,
it
no.
though.
But
They,
they
they
didn't
popularized. Yeah.
No, but they influence.
Absolutely.
If there was no Dan and Dave, no one was buying all these decks, millions of dollars.
Nobody give a shit about Brian Tudor.
Well, Yeah, Brian Doody.
Brian Doody
predated them. He was an inspiration to
them.
them.
He was one of the
I'm saying
pioneers.
now, though.
But nobody cared about it when he was doing
For
it.
the record, he was one of the pioneers, and he did very well. No,
Absolutely, and I'm not arguing that at all.
Kenner's in there too. He was doing some of that crazy crap.
Right?
But they weren't as
No,
influential.
I see what you're saying.
I'm trying to think who is a more influential person that I personally know that really just shaped anything, that really just had effect on something.
I mean, it's true. Very few magicians have arguably cool. Can I use that word?
Yes, you may use
arguably cool kids walking around wearing their names on their heads, on their chests. There are these kids. There were kids walking around where they have their names emblazoned on their chest. Or
I guess David Blaine is probably more influential.
I wonder.
David Blaine.
Oh, he's amazing.
Do you think he's that's
what I'm saying.
Do you think he's
Influential.
more influential?
Well, think
than
about how many
David
people
magic?
Yeah.
On the world.
In life.
Hold on, what's the question? Ask it
Question
slowly.
is, the question is,
This is second language.
who is more influential
In what regard?
culturally in America?
In your opinion,
Globally.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say globally.
Who's more influential on the global culture?
Blaine is more influential.
Blaine or Dan and Dave?
Blaine is
Come
more
on, you
influential.
cannot even ask
Yeah,
that
Blaine is more
question.
influential.
Okay, tell me in what ways people are changing their behavior based on David Blaine.
I can tell you a bunch of
I
ways.
can tell you a million. First
Okay,
of all,
please.
before David, first of all, he changed the whole in TV.
I'm not saying in
Hold
the
on.
grand scheme of things. I'm saying right now in 2016.
The way we do magic today is very influenced by David.
No question about it.
I agree
So
with
that means
Okay.
that the way people witness magic is different than the way they witness it. So it's like a chain reaction. We do magic differently. The public has a different expectation of magic.
Sure.
Close-up became cool again, in demand. Back in the day, if you didn't have a stage act, you could not have a career. David really single-handedly changed magic on its head completely.
I won't argue that.
The magic word is before Blaine, after Blaine, but very, very sharp and distinct.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying
I
is
agree.
nowadays, as a cultural agitator, not agitator, that's the wrong word, influencer, how is David changing people's behaviors in 2016? The same way that
Well, does it have to be now? Can it
yeah,
be
I'm
stuff
asking
in his
now.
previous work
I'm
or
not
his
asking you in the
current?
grand scheme of things. Clearly, he's had a way larger impact on the culture than Dan and David. I'm saying right now.
Okay, but the original question was, I said Dan and Dave are probably the most influential people I know personally.
Yes.
So, do you know anyone who's more influential? It doesn't have to be in magic, just in the world that you know
Than
personally
David
than David Blaine.
Interesting. I met Richard Garriott a few times. He was the first civilian in space. That's pretty influential.
What-
No, but hold on. After this categories, obviously every person.
Dick Cavett I've met a few times. Had a couple conversations with him. Dinner
That's right. You wrote
dinner
that
twice.
article.
I think he's probably more
I'm not so.
influential
I'm
than
not.
David Blaine.
I
think
don't like
he's more
those
influential
analogies.
than-
I don't
I
like
worked
those
for Jon
analogies
Stewart
so
for a
much.
summer.
John Stewart is
wins.
definitely influential, but
Yeah,
you don't know
that
him
wins.
personally.
No, I couldn't call him up.
Yeah.
I don't think.
David could.
Yeah, right. David good. There you go.
They're very good friends.
There you go. They're very good friends. Really? Come on. What is a very good friend, really?
David has more friends and acquaintances than I.
Than people you've ever met.
He knows everybody, but
Yeah.
he knows them on such a level. First of all,
Well, he's a celebrity. It's a different
no,
thing.
no, but he's more.
It's mysterious.
I think that David is the most charismatic, persuasive person I've ever met.
I agree with
he can become your friend in 5 seconds.
He's
amazing that
This
way.
is the thing about David. Every time I've hung out with David, I realize that he is like the prototypical celebrity because he believes the rules of society do not apply to him, and so they don't. We're riding on his motorcycle.
But that's
through
not
New York
because
City.
not because it's celebrity.
No,
he did that
that's-
before.
That's what Kalush told me. He's like, he was always like that. Schiffer said
Always.
the same thing. He rides through New York City on a motorcycle, no helmet, up on the sidewalk. Against traffic, through
Red
traffic
lights.
lights, no plates on the bike, parks on the sidewalk. I ride a motorcycle. It's completely insane to do what he does. And he does it without blinking an eye.
And that's more dangerous, by the way, than all of his stunts together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I hope he's careful now with his little girl is so adorable. Speaking of him being so influential, maybe you could ask him when you get back to post a video of her reading RoboSauce on Instagram or something. That would be really great.
That's very self-serving.
Yeah, well, this podcast is supposedly about me.
It is.
All these people talking.
By the way, after an hour and a half, it shifted to an hour. It's no longer about
It's a collective.
You're equal. You're equal now.
You know what's nice is that people are going to listen to this just because it gets to the ludicrous ending, this whole group discussion, and they have to sit through all the bullshit about me.
That's funny. I think it's a great. We were going to break a world record in podcasting.
I don't think
Dude,
so.
there's got to be something.
What's the longest? 10 hours?
Probably a year.
I'm
Probably.
sure there's something.
We were just talking
No, but
about
non-stop.
I mean, people try to go for records. You're not on.
Yeah,
you're not on the
probably like
cusp. I mean,
What?
doesn't
30-something
Corolla?
hours,
Adam
probably.
Carolla does like a 3 or 4 hour podcast every day.
Yeah.
Okay, can you do right now?
no,
World's longest podcast.
Yes, but non-stop, not interrupted.
Right.
Did we ever pause?
I paused when you came in from your call.
It doesn't
Oh,
count.
you ruined the
it doesn't
record.
count.
Yeah.
It doesn't count. We really did swear we never stopped, correct? We were here.
I would
talking.
say it's like days, if not
I would say
weeks.
10 hours. 10 hours is the longest.
10 hours.
No, definitely.
No, I would say at least 30 hours.
At least, if not long, because you
Non-stop?
you can record you
But
sleeping.
people go to sleep.
But that would be as interesting as half of what we're
No,
talking
I'm
about.
talking about, no, if you go to sleep, it's cheat. You're cheating.
Continuous
people-
talking from the
Continue
same
talking in
people.
front of a mic.
Oh my god, you're
being
talking about
committed.
weeks.
Uninterrupted webcast, 41 hours.
Hold on, but they did not go to bed? I don't believe that.
No. I stayed up for 48
40?
hours one time. I stayed up for full 2 days one time, and I started,
too,
I
but
started
I'm surprised it's
hallucinating.
only 41 hours.
It's the worst, huh?
I
Imagine
started,
if you're
I
locked in a block
legitimately
of ice.
started hallucinating, and then I went to bed, and there was a rock concert in the house that I lived, like our house hosted a rock concert. I slept through the rock
That's
concert,
funny.
like a full band. I completely slept.
Wow.
through it. But I was hallucinating. I thought I had 3 hands for a minute. I really was.
It's like
It was
drugs.
stronger than any drug I ever took.
We're missing Levant.
We are.
Yeah.
We should get going.
Okay.
But please do ask David to post a photo of Dessa reading RoboSauce. That would really.
He might be listening
helpful.
right now.
Maybe he's listening. Ask him
Yeah,
yourself right
definitely.
now.
David's
Yeah,
definitely listening while he's doing his workouts. He's in a barometric
Okay,
chamber.
what do we
somewhere.
want to say to the 5 people who are listening to us right now?
I want
Those
to
5
say.
people.
I want to say congratulations.
No, but they're special people.
they
correct?
are.
They have a great attention span.
They have a great attention span. They're probably Asi Wind fans. That's
No,
what
they're
I
Adam
guess.
Rubin.
I don't know about
Rubin.
that. My mom doesn't listen to podcasts, and I think she's the only
Because
one
your
passionate
name is
about
going to say Adam Rubin, which means if they came
There's
here,
gonna be a big
they're
ass
Adam
asterisk
Rubin
right next to
fans
that.
to begin with.
it. Asterix.
This is longer than any book you've ever written.
Very much so. I gave a presentation this morning, and I thought about just straight up reading the book. It would have taken about 10, 15 minutes, and that would have been my whole presentation. I would have
That's
gotten on
funny.
stage.
That's great.
Very Andy
And
Kaufman.
some guy came up to me today in the elevator. You know, I'm not jealous of you, Asi, because people know who you are at magic conventions, and that is a huge disadvantage.
It is.
Well,
He
to
said he
me-
likes coming to these.
Yeah, I know. But for me, I like the anonymity. You know, I get
I
to talk
like
to
it too, by the way.
I get
do.
to talk to who I want to talk to. I get to hang out with my friends. I don't get interrupted by random dudes. But today, I had the experience that you probably have at most magic conventions, which is that just random people come up to you and start a conversation and don't know how to end it, and you don't know what to do because you don't want to be rude, and you're just like, okay,
You want
now
the
I'm
answer?
talking. Yeah, what's the answer?
I gotta go to the bathroom.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
That's it.
And
You
then
can only
what
do
about-
that so
me
many
too, man.
times.
Let's-
What if you're
Yeah.
next to the
But
bathroom
anyway,
and you see one going?
the point was this guy comes up to the elevator.
I
and
have
he's
to go in
like,
my room. I have a weird thing.
He goes,
I have to stop talking to you. I don't know why.
right, it's hard. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Thank you for your time.
But
I'll
I
see
don't
you
mind it. To be okay, for the sake of fairness, I mean, I feel like the kids who come to me and ask me a question about trick or something, you know, I was once that kid.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. Somebody that comes to you with a fertile mind and an insightful question is like mentally stimulating and like
Sure.
it gives you inspiration and it energizes.
So what are
you
you talking about?
What
What I'm
about when they
talking is when the guy comes up to me and is like, Mr. Asi Wind, you're Israeli. I had a cousin that went to
Well-
Israel. What? I forget their name. What's that city in Israel that?
It doesn't happen that often.
Really?
No, it
It's
happens a
They
little
want to
bit.
know what you think about BB.
No.
Something
It doesn't
controversial.
happen a lot, to be honest.
Okay,
It really
well.
doesn't.
What about when people want you to do tricks? If someone comes up and says, "Can you do
I'm
that?"
a machine. Look, I
know
like
you-
to do magic.
I know, I know.
Perform at the castle the other night, and it was incredible.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Asi's fucking
I have a
great.
picture actually from camp. I just found it a couple days ago.
Oh,
I
yeah?
sent it to you from after your show, where the kids at Magic Camp. Asi came out to Taddin's Magic Camp this summer, and the kids were literally. I was the only. I've been in counselor for 18 years. And never have I seen the reaction. Kids were literally chanting Asi, Asi, Asi before the show. The whole audience was chanting that before the thing was over. Afterwards, they put you in a room with the older kids.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of people, like Prakash was there, and Holtzclaw was there, and
Derek
Hughes was there, yeah. And but you were on the, and they're like, all right, and they were all huddled around you, and it was like even an intense spotlight for you. You were like, whoa.
It was quite
Wait a second,
intense.
Derek Hughes wasn't there.
He came right after.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Was
He
he
was
there
there.
the
Yeah,
day
he was
after?
there. Yeah, he was there with Carbonaro.
Lovick was there. Carbonaro show. Oh yeah, that's right. Lovick and Derek and Carbonaro came for a bit.
Prakash and that was the night.
I love
New
those
York
guys.
guys.
They're
And
so
Doug, I
great.
think, was there.
Maybe.
Well, either way, but that was one time. It was the one time I've seen you. Like nobody holds court amongst magicians like you do. But in that case, you were like, somebody else do something. I don't really want. Like you were even a little put off.
No, look, it's fun to do magic. It's fun to do. Here's the thing, because I tried to write about this, performing for magicians or people in the know. To me, there's almost no difference. My goal is pretty much the same. Like, if I'm performing for magicians, I want to fool them just as bad as I want to fool laymen. So I'll use different techniques, different methods, maybe different approach, but the goal is the same. So I enjoy doing that, correct? Because the same reason I enjoyed performing for laymen.
Well, do you think it's easier to fool magicians?
I don't know if it's easy. I think it's different. It's a different tactic. It's a different approach. You have to use their knowledge against them.
Right.
Use things that, layered differently, or, because, some magic that I do for magicians is not interesting for laymen because it's too contrived and too long.
Not procedure.
Yeah, too procedural. But, for magicians, it contradicts everything they know about that trick.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's fun. It's a challenge. It's any challenge is fun.
Yeah.
Also, here's another thing. Even because there are two excuses about why magicians don't like to perform for other magicians.
I hate it. To me, it's
I-
like
I
it's
do-
like having sex in front of your parents.
I hate
It's
it
like,
too.
Really?
Actually, you know what?
I like that
It's
too.
it's like having sex in front of porn stars. I'd say.
That's a pretty. That's a
But
pretty
elevating
great analogy.
them to porn stars is a thing. That's the mistake.
I wouldn't say
Well,
porn stars
okay,
are great
you
at
You got to
sex,
figure.
though.
Elevating his parents.
The times that I don't perform for magicians very often, but the times that I have been forced to perform for magicians, I look out in the audience. It's all at 31 Faces North. That's where I've had to do it,
Yeah,
and those guys are porn stars.
those are the porn stars.
And it's really fucking terrifying. Really terrible. I've seen really seasoned guys.
That I understand,
Jared
but that's
Kopp,
different.
Costa Kimlat, and they're trembling like leaves. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough
It is
crowd.
tough. It is tough. But here's the thing: for the most part, the reason magicians don't like to perform for other magicians is because they're afraid that their material will be stolen, which is legit. But that's like a minuscule, portion of people who really don't want to perform for magic because of that. But the second reason is because they have nothing new to offer. They're using the same hack lines, same kind of tricks. They know deep inside them that they have nothing innovative to give you. Because here's the deal. I've seen Mac King 1,000,000 times. I know how the tricks work for the most part. So he's not fooling me, but I enjoy seeing him do it because he's an expert. He's a master of this show. Even if we see, I don't know, Shadows by Teller, I've seen them many, many, many times. Whether it fools me or not is irrelevant. I love seeing the piece because it's great. So if something is great, it doesn't matter who watches
So
it.
let me ask you this:
Okay.
which of David's pieces do you feel that way about?
Blaine's?
Yeah.
I think Blaine is one of the greatest walk-around, close-up performer I've ever seen. He truly engages with the crowd. He truly understands the psychology of what makes somebody feel that astonishing moment. And I love watching that.
So which of the pieces that he does to you is like when he starts doing that, you're like, all right, this is the master at work.
I'm so because I'm so close to it.
It's hard.
It's hard because it's like talking about a family member. It's
Right.
like, give me a minute. We have an hour. So
We have
give
another
me a
2
minute.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me
least.
think about that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of tricks that come to mind, but I'm trying to find the one that really is amazing.
That you can watch. Well, the original question was that you could watch over and over and still
Well, just because
appreciate.
it's got me intrigued because you mentioned like Teller's
Because
Shadows.
it's hard because I collaborate with David on a lot of his tricks.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of parallel material.
Right.
So it's like almost complimenting myself. Like if I told you that he does one of my tricks really well.
Like we said, this is the time to be a pompous ass.
Because nobody's listening.
First of all, nobody's listening. Second of all, it's a podcast. We're talking into a microphone with a bag over it. So I feel like that's
this is very weird. Why do you do that?
That's the time.
It's a pop filter.
It's a Ku Klux Klan like.
Yeah.
Usually it's the furry thing, correct? Like.
I feel like we're all too close.
That's not really what I'm into, but
yeah, it depends on your proclivities. But I think the pop filter is only relevant if you're very close to the microphone.
You would think so.
Pop.
Here's a piece that he does very well, and I think he contributed to that piece a lot. I don't know to what extent, but I know he contributed a lot to that routine, where he makes the deck shrink and become like only the hearts or diamond spades, whatever, with their selection in the center. That's a beautiful piece.
Yeah,
and every time he does it, he kills.
Right, but you're not going to put that in the same category as Shadows or Matt King's show.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's different. I don't believe.
What about the water thing? The thing under.
Well, that's another thing. You know, when he does. You know.
Can you watch that 1,000,000 times?
No, because
well, you know, this is why David keeps Asi close, because he's a harsh critic. That's why.
It's true, because I'm also opposed. You might see it one day, in some format. You'll see what I feel about it in a very explicit way. I can't say more than that.
I know what you're talking about, and I know I don't think it's ever going to come out.
It will. It will.
You really think so?
Yeah, 100%.
The editing alone will take.
No, have you seen any cuts?
No.
Okay, we can talk about it. Let's move on.
All right. I want to congratulate once again anybody that's made it through. So many false endings.
And if you do, please take a photo, put it on Facebook, and tag us.
And if you've made it all the way through, please take a photo. Visit AsiWon'tStopTalking.org. Our heartiest congratulations, heartfelt thank you.
It's only me. You're all talking.
and apologies.
Are you signing off?
I'm trying. I've tried a couple times. It hasn't worked.
2:13.
2 hours, 13 minutes.
Good God.
That's awesome. Let's go for 5 hours. Imagine,
and then we'll all go away, and then we'll really feel bad.
Imagine that they look at the podcast and it says on the bottom 5 hours. They will not even start listening.
No, definitely not.
They go, not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't think
they
so.
might think, wow, this is really profound.
Scare
they probably have something to say.
They might say, who the hell is Adam Rubin?
Yeah.
That's what they asked.
Are you going to do a podcast with me?
Yeah.
Well,
then we should definitely
whatever you reach, I want to double that.
Okay. I'll come by.
You'll be part 2 of this.
Oh, man.
That was funny.
It sounds amazing.
Here, can I say something interesting?
Please. I've been waiting for quite a while.
I know.
2 hours and 13 minutes.
But you know what? Here's something very interesting. I really think that what I like about... Shut up! I'm talking here.
We know.
No.
There's a website.
Yeah, we read the...
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, no. You had something interesting to say.
I think it's interesting, but what I like about showmanship and shows in general is this looseness of sincerity. I don't know how to say it in any other way or form. What I mean by that is like there's something very rigid about shows that I see, like a very rigid script, and it feels like a script. And you spoke about good acting, but
like Mac's show, he's scripted to every single.
But it's amazing, correct?
It feels very loose.
But there's a big difference between the way we talk now and the way we spoke before. Like we kind of were aware that there's a mic and we need to deliver a podcast, and we have a standard to hit, and now we don't care.
Well, you know what the biggest difference is? Earlier it was an interview, so I had to do most of the talking, and now it's become a conversation.
Yes, and I want my show to feel like a conversation. I want it to feel like what we're doing now.
Well, that's what we talked about earlier, is that some performers, really seasoned performers, when they're on stage and they have an audience member there, they're present in the moment, and that's what makes it feel like a real experience, is that there's an actual exchange of ideas. It's not just, you're not just a wall that they're bouncing off of, you actually are affected by what happens there.
So in other words, if we forget that there's a mic in front of us...
Yeah. That's probably be bad for my career. I am a children's author.
I know, but I'm saying but you know what I mean. Like if
that's why I told you we were.
No, but if you're not performing for a microphone or camera or a crowd, then you really allow yourself to be you. Like to like I'm talking right now the way I would talk to a friend. Correct?
Yeah.
There's no difference between
the way we quiet about some of the Blaine stuff. You started to get quiet about some of the Blaine stuff.
But that's true.
Because he doesn't want to blow it for the other project.
No, there's things I can talk about.
Right.
But I'm saying I would talk. This is how I talk to my friends. Correct? So I want to be on stage talking to the audience the way I talk to my friends. That's my goal.
Well, I think what we've learned is that there is a period of acclimation. There's a period of familiarization where you need to get to know the audience and they need to get to know you. And that's, unless you purposely build that into your show, you'll never get to the point where they feel they can talk to you like a friend and you feel that you can talk to them like a friend.
But maybe if you approach it that way, it kind of like sets the rules or opens the gate to that.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it done. Like, for example, I'd give you an example. I'm not going to mention names, but I've seen performers who off stage are so interesting, they're so funny, they're so engaging, real.
Yeah.
And the moment they start, I don't know,
performing,
go into the performance mode and the stage voice and all that, I'm bored to death.
Yeah.
And I love these people and they're great magicians.
Oh, they're okay.
But
I was going to ask, are these like great magicians? These are big names type?
Yeah,
You're just
for
turning
sure,
off
big
by-
names,
Okay,
of course.
so I didn't know. Just
And,
clarify.
and to me, it's like really a shame because I said, if you could bring that person I know at the bar
yeah,
or whatever, if you bring that person to the stage, I'm intrigued. Like, that's
What about the opposite?
What do you mean?
people
What about
that are
like
not
big
that
names
interesting.
who, when you talk to them off stage, they're really boring people, but then they get on
I
stage.
don't. Nothing
Like
comes
De
to mind.
Niro, for example. I mean, he's not a magician, obviously, but like supposedly he's like super boring off, but you put him on camera.
Is he boring off? I
That's why he
don't.
never does interviews. Like he doesn't like the kibitz. He doesn't like to talk. He's just very quiet and like.
I've met him twice, but it was like very brief, so I can't judge. I can't really say,
I mean, that's his reputation. I don't claim
so I
to know
don't
De
know.
Niro at all, but
So
that's
I can
his
only go
reputation.
by the people
I just
I
mean,
know.
well, I'm talking about. Okay, so let's talk about
Like,
magicians.
Adam is
though.
really boring off stage, correct?
For
But,
sure.
he's
But I've never
consistent.
seen him on stage, so I don't know. He's just boring.
I'd say I'm boring with a twist. Like there's a threat that I might do something interesting at any moment. It's sort of like this podcast.
But hold on, most podcasts have gossip. We're lacking gossip.
That's true.
Let's have some gossip.
How was your phone call earlier?
Well,
I'm just
I did kind of shit on Roger Dreyer's business card a little bit. That was
You did.
sort of gossipy.
Yeah.
But even if Roger's listening, I would say like go
Change it.
change it. Like I mean, if you're gonna use
Get it
Mark's
right.
design,
Get it right,
use
yeah.
Mark's design. Like don't put the logo on there. Don't put the right side up text on the back. Like, I really want to talk to Mark about it because he is such a detail-driven guy, and he's so that I wonder if it just pains him to see it.
Yeah,
Like
like a magic
the
done.
really wonderful
A
idea.
good magic
kind of-
done.
Wait, I have a question about this podcast.
Sure.
So, does someone have to tune in for 2 hours to hear this stuff, or is there the potential for you to chop this up and edit it and just out the?
No, there's no editing.
We're
There's
not
no
editing.
editing. Okay.
Can we call let's call magicians. Let's call Derek Delgado.
Okay, he's gonna hate you for
No.
this.
Yeah?
Oh
Let's
yeah,
not
he'll
do
be
that.
so mad.
Let's not do
Okay,
that.
so I'm not going. Derek, I'm not calling you.
We can do that on your episode, Asi.
Yeah,
I would
great
love
idea.
to do that on your
Let's
episode.
let's call John Lovick. John Lovick will be fine.
Oh god, he'll love the gossip. You know what? Don't tell him I'm here, and be like, "Hey, what do you think of Adam Rubin?"
Okay.
Yes, this is-
no,
this
but no,
is
no, I don't want. I
dangerous.
don't want. No, he's my friend.
He's my friend too.
I'm telling
He
you.
I don't think
no.
he'll- I don't think he'll sing to you.
Maestro, you're live. We're doing a podcast, and we're trying to break the world record of magic podcasts. So far, we've been going for how long?
220.
220. We're saying basically nothing, and we're telling people to not listen. We're encouraging them to just sign off. But if there's anybody listening right now, they hear your voice.
I feel bad for them.
I
do
know. We told them that if they did reach this point, to take a screenshot of the, the progress line, whatever, and post it on Facebook. So, anything you want to contribute to this nonsense conversation? You can say anything. Listen, nobody's listening right now.
Yeah, if you want to talk shit about Adam Rubin or something like that.
Harry Houdini was the greatest magician who ever lived.
Wow, profound.
What are you trying to get into Galusha's good graces over there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What are you doing? Where are we catching you?
What are you wearing?
What am I doing? I'm in my car. I'm driving to fine American party supplies to buy plastic cups. Because
Is-
nothing like cheap red wine tastes best in plastic cups.
By the way, I was.
John, do you ever get worn out from your rock and roll lifestyle?
Yeah. Yeah.
So 2 nights ago, I was at the castle and I went to see Lovick perform. And remember, you gave us somebody the wine, and he said it doesn't taste like wine. Do you remember that? Why did he
I
say?
do remember that.
Why did he say that?
Because it tastes like cranberry juice.
Here's what happened there.
Here,
is that I was using a really cheap, very sweet wine. Now the thing about it is it was absolutely wine. There's no mistaking it for wine. But it was so sweet, and because I made a joke about it being cranberry juice, that he thought he was thinking cranberry juice and this is sweet, and went, I think it's cranberry juice. Now there's no mistaking it for cranberry juice. It was just cheap red wine. So I bought a different kind of red wine that is much less sweet, and so there's no chance of that happening again.
So in other words, you tweaked your act. You upgraded your act.
I did. I made an improvement based on something that happened on stage, which I don't think anyone else has ever done that before.
Nice. It was, but the out was great. He said, "Give it to somebody who knows something about alcohol."